May sometime. I think second week of May, third week of May.
Do you like it?
What? Yeah. I watch it.
Yes.
I'll admit to watching it, but
is that like it used to be, where they used to have all the countries in the inside of a newspaper and everyone wrote down as they went? It used to be quite an event. It's not like that anymore, is it?
It's not like that anymore. My mother, God bless her, she's same speech every year. I'm never watching the Eurovision again. That's a fix. Never watching it again, but she's always there front and centre.
And she was right too.
Morning, Mum.
All right, that is it for Rory for now. He's back with you tomorrow morning. It's time now for the news at 9:01. Good morning, Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. 50 new jobs are being created at the CoLab facility on the Letterkenny IT campus over the next 18 months. Zinkworks, a telecoms and financial services research and development company, has announced the establishment of a software engineering hub. The project is supported by IDA Ireland. It will provide software development services, including 5G network consulting. Michelle Conahan is IDA Regional Manager for the Northwest. She says this is particularly important given that this is the week that Letterkenny IT prepares to transition into full technological university status.
The new technological university is such an addition for the region. For the first time, we're going to have 8 university towns across the Northwest. And I think that will really add to the attractiveness of the region. And on a lovely Donegal day, isn't it a great announcement to be having, especially in that week in the run-up?
President Volodymyr Zelensky has acknowledged Ukraine may have to concede territory to Russia ahead of peace talks between the two countries. President Zelensky says he wants to make a deal with Moscow over Donbass, which has been partly controlled by Russian-backed separatists since 2014. €2.32 million has been announced in funding for housing adaptation grants for older people and people with a disability in Donegal. Grants of up to €30,000 are available to assist disabled people carry out necessary works to make their house more suitable. Grants of up to €8,000 are available to assist older people make repairs. Up to €6,000 is available from mobility aids. The allocation is up almost €566,000 on last year's figure. The HSC received over €5 million in car parking charges at public hospitals last year, according to Freedom of Information files. The average cost was €244,000 per hospital. The figures covered 21 statutory hospital car parks across the country. No figures are available for Letterkenny or Sligo. By far the highest was the €1.25 million gathered in Cork University Hospital, followed by $657,000 in Galway. Beaumont Hospital consultant Bill Tormey says these charges should be reduced.
The car parking should be a seasonal car parking arrangement, and it should be a lot cheaper because people have to spend an absolute fortune. To abolish them entirely would result in people freeloading on hospital car parks in good sites. So I think there should be some charge, but the charge should be moderate. I think the way it is at the moment is basically a rip-off.
A Donegal deputy says the proposed electronic travel authorisation system for non-Irish EU citizens in Northern Ireland is unworkable. Deputy Thomas Pringle says while the British government are saying there'll be no hard border or border checks, he doesn't see how this system could operate without them.
The British have said that they're not going to require checking of it and that you'll only have to fill this out online. But surely if you have to fill out a form online, then they will have to have some form of actually checking that people are complying with it. And the only way that they can do that is by having policing the border and by controlling the access to the border. So I don't see how they can go about that. And I imagine that they haven't implemented this system just expecting to be a complete white elephant and everybody to ignore it.
Any lingering mist and fog will clear, leaving a dry morning with good sunny spells this afternoon and into this evening. A few showers will break out in highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees Celsius, light easterly or variable breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Got my qualifications, a few years experience under my belt, but what now? I feel like there should be more. A next step, advancement, a new challenge.
From aircraft technicians and engineers to fitters, carpenters, medical professionals and chefs, the Irish Defence Forces now have exciting and rewarding opportunities for anyone looking to move their career to the next level. So if you want to experience a life less ordinary, visit military.ie now to find out more.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota. Test drive Toyota's incredible self-charging hybrid range at our showroom, Port Road, Letterkenny.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show, with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. It's another Monday morning, the 28th of March, 9:05, and it's the 9 till Noon Show. I do hope you're well, and stay with us. A busy show is always coming up for you. You can watch the programme if you want to as well, by the way. It's on our website, highlandradio.com, or our social media sites, Highland Radio Ireland on YouTube, or Facebook pages, Highland Radio or Highland Radio News and Sport. And we'll remind you how you can get involved very, very shortly. We want your views and your comments, but first let's look at the front of the newspaper, starting with the Derry People Donegal News this Monday morning. Elective procedures at Letterkenny University Hospital are being postponed due to a lack of beds, as up to 10 wards are impacted by COVID-19 and high numbers of people attending the emergency department. The HSE informed the Donegal News of the decision, stressing that urgent time-sensitive cases are being prioritised and patients affected will be contacted directly if the procedure is being postponed. And that's the story out of Letterkenny University Hospital. But speaking to different people over the weekend who attended or tried to attend different hospitals across the country, it's a familiar story. How are our hospitals functioning as, emergency hospitals at the moment, even in the cases of emergency? People with broken limbs waiting 12, in some cases 16, 18 hours before they are seen to properly. Well, by the way, I know they'll be triaged and what have you, but I mean before they're actually, have a cast on or whatever it might be. And it, as I say, that's right across the hospital network, it would seem. Maybe you've got an experience of that you wish to share. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp number. You can text that number too. If you prefer to call and talk to Caroline, 07491 25,000. The Derry News tells us a local cinema is to roll out the red carpet for the premiere of the first episode of the eagerly awaited third and final series of the hit television comedy series Derry Girls. Stars of the hugely successful show will attend the 6:30pm screening, being hosted by Northern Ireland Screen and Channel 4 at the Omniplex on Strand Road on Thursday, April 7th. The screening will be followed by an after party in the Guildhall. That's sort of marking, I suppose, its contribution. The Irish Independent this morning, Celtic Tiger house prices rising now €100 a day. House prices are increasing by Celtic Tiger levels of almost €100 a day, as the market shows no sign of slowing down. The Q1 Irish Independent REA average house price surveys found that average house prices rose by 3.16% nationally in the first 3 months of the year, matching the 1% a month increase experienced during the boom. Almost 60% of all purchasers were first-time buyers, a figure which rose to 76% in Dublin as people with mortgage approval tried to get on the property ladder. Two other property price surveys released by daft.ie and myhome.ie also show a continued property market squeeze with rising asking prices nationwide. So let's look inside to see what the story is here locally in the Northwest. And the average house price in Donegal is its lowest. The prices have increased by 3.9%, but the average property in Donegal is €132,500. That's below Leitrim, by the way, at €149,500. Sligo, €172,500. County Waterford, not County Waterford, sorry, but Waterford City, €265,000. They're up 6%, just to give you an idea of what's happening elsewhere. The average house price in Dublin, €481,250. So prices in Dublin going up just 2%. Some of the highest increases in Mayo and Galway, very popular down there, 8.2% increase in cost and 8.7% respectively. But Donegal, as I say, we seem to have, I can't see any area with lower average house prices, €132,500. And that's an increase of 3.9%, but still from a very low base. I think we can all agree there. The Irish Times tells us that Kiev warns of push to break up Ukraine. Ukraine's intelligence chief has warned that Russia is planning to split the country in two along Korean lines as President Volodymyr Zelensky urged NATO to share its weapons rather than let them gather dust. His plea came after a speech by US President Joe Biden in Warsaw that Russia's Vladimir Putin cannot remain in power His apparent off-the-cuff remark infuriated Moscow and has caused irritation elsewhere in Europe. He then had to step back from it, walk back from it, and it might have been a slip. It's one way of saying it and getting it out there. And then, if you do the walk back on it, the information has been related. You've got your point out there. Or it could have just been a slip of the tongue. He didn't intend to say it. Either way, it plays arguably well from the West side in inverted commas, but in Russia too, it can play either way either. Some might say, oh, well, this is what the West thinks, we need to get Putin out, and others might say, Putin was right all the time. They're trying to destroy Russia. So this is the way things are nowadays. Facts depend on how you want to look at them. On to the Irish Daily Mail now. What do you think about this? A minimum 20-year sentence for all murders. I think most people might have thought, well, surely that's the case already, but we know clearly it's not. Maybe it should be minimum sentences whilst they are taking out the eraser and the Tipp-Ex and the pen. They could change a few things as it relates to how long people get behind bars for certain crimes. But murderers face a minimum of 20 years in jail under new powers Justice Minister Helen McEntee is considering giving to judges. Swinging new sentencing measures are also being planned for domestic abuse and those who groom children for crime. Under the Justice Plan published today by Minister McEntee, judges are to be given the power to ensure murderers serve at least 20 years. She said, I believe in a criminal justice system where the sentence matches the crime, and I will bring forward proposals to reform the law in relation to life sentences. And as I mentioned there, she is also looking at other areas of crime. The Irish Sun today, a COVID expert, has warned people to wear a mask because it's COVID soup out there. Now, obviously, there's different people with different views. Lots of people just getting on with it now. Enough is enough. They might feel that maybe they've had COVID. Maybe they aren't too worried about the consequences of it and just want things to move forward. There are also a lot of people out there who continue to wear a mask where they feel it appropriate, and they believe that mask wearing should be mandated again given the high incidence of COVID and the impact it clearly is indisputably having on our hospitals. But I think the latter group are less likely to talk about it now because they feel they might be shut down, and also a lot of people might want to wear a mask in a public setting, but because so few are, they might feel that they will stand out. But anyway, Professor Cliona Ní Kelly said there is a high number of people battling the virus in the community, and she said that antigen testing has led to case numbers being vastly underreported. The consultant in infectious diseases said, we are not doing anything about our indoor spaces. People have stopped wearing masks from what I can see. We can expect further spread. We're lucky the current variant is much milder and most people are vaccinated, so very severely unwell, but there is a lot of virus around. And I think any of you out there know the situation. Many people who never had it before, of course, getting it now. Many people getting it for the second time. Really tragic case from down the country, as highlighted in most of the papers today. We'll read from the Daily Star. Shane Murphy, he was well known in pitch and putt circles. He was a champion in that sport. He died trying to protect his older father from a frenzied knife attack. And as Gardaí continued to quiz a suspect for the killing last night, he's appearing in court today. Sources revealed that his father, Wishi, who's 75, was lucky to survive the brutal knife attack that saw him stabbed up to 12 times. Shane, who's 27, suffered injuries to the throat and chest in the shocking attack at the family home in rural County Cork on Saturday morning. He died at the scene. Sources last night revealed he was trying to protect his father from the vicious onslaught when he suffered the injuries that cost him his life. He was trying to protect his father from the knife, a source said last night. And as I say, there's a person before the courts in relation to that awful crime or later this morning. Donegal retained their Division 1 status yesterday on the back of the Mail, it tells us. Not such good fortune for Dublin, though. They were relegated. And we read that Desi Farrell put a brave face on Dublin's relegation from Division 1 after a last-gasp defeat to Monaghan and Clones. It was an awful day for Leinster football, and 5 of the 6 sides relegated coming from the province: Dublin, Kildare, Offaly, Wicklow and Laois. It marks another milestone on the recent 6-in-a-row All-Ireland champion sudden fall from grace. Obviously, it's just very disappointing, Farrell said. We did well to get back into it at the death. It's a very disappointing, but we just have to get on with it at this stage. And it was squeaky bomb time, to quote to quote Alex Ferguson for times with Donegal, because obviously we didn't know what the permutations were necessarily in other places. Big lead against Armagh, relatively big, obviously a missed penalty, very tight towards the end, and then over the line. What do you think of what took place yesterday? What are your hopes for the championship in the next, 4 weeks? 086 60 25,000 if you want to comment on anything. Brendan Devaney is joining us later. If you have a question for him on what's going on, let us know. Get in touch. Right, so our first guest coming up on the programme in just a couple of minutes.
The 9 till Noon Show, brought to you by Kelly's Toyota. With over 45 years of experience, trust us to help you on your electric journey.
On the night of April 3rd, we'll all come together to fill out our census forms. And the information you provide will help show where essential services are needed in every part of the country. So on Sunday, April 3rd, be a part of Ireland's future. Be counted. Visit census.ie to find out more.
Let's call out his name.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, April 23rd. Tickets at the theatre box office. That's Mike Denver in concert at the Millennium Forum with Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine on Saturday, April 23rd.
If I learned one thing in the last year, it's that falling into debt can happen to anyone. Luckily, I heard about the ISI, the Insolvency Service of Ireland. Their professional advisors can help you restructure or even write off your debt. The first thing they said to me was, every debt problem has a solution. I can still feel the relief. So if you're worried, visit their website backontrack.ie or free text Get Help to 50015.
The ISI. Together, we'll get you back on track. This is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Most business ideas start with a dream, a desire to do things differently. A lot of business ideas end there too. If you have an idea you want to turn into a reality, Enterprise Ireland's New Frontiers programme can help. Together with your local institutes of technology and technological universities, it provides support and funding for early-stage entrepreneurs to help with everything from testing your idea to implementing your business plan. Applications for your region are now open. Visit newfrontiers.ie. Enterprise Ireland's New Frontiers. Turn dreaming into doing. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Pet Value Ballybuffet has just got bigger. Yes, we've opened store number 2 at St Mary's Road, Buncrana. And to celebrate, one lucky customer will win €1,000 of home heating oil. Simply call into the store during March and you will be entered into the draw. Pet Value are open Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m, Sunday 12 till 5. With fantastic offers across both stores. Pet Value, your one-stop shop for all your animal needs.
Okay, we're going to talk safety on the roads now. This time our focus is going to be in the mountaintop area of Letterkenny. We're joined on the programme by Independent Councillor Michael McBride. Thanks for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay, so tell us the problem as far as you're aware as it relates to safety between the mountaintop to the Illistrin Road.
Well, I suppose, Greg, it's a road I use quite a bit myself, and I had noticed, over the last number of months that, there were a lot of people there trying to turn right down in Balladerg. There's a right-hand turn on there to a number of houses, and I just kind of noticed that a lot of people with traffic backing up and people nearly on top of the car in front of them having to kind of swerve in towards the new cycleway there.
So just so we're clear, this is the road from the mountaintop down towards Illistrin. You say, when you talk about turning right, are you on about having to cross the 2 lanes of traffic coming up in the other direction? Is that what you're talking about?
Aye, that's correct. There,
okay.
People that are heading down the mountaintop towards Illistrin and having to turn right there, and And I was often looking at it and I thought to myself, that there should be a right-hand turn lane there because it is extremely dangerous. And funny then, one of the residents that lives down there came to me and said, that he had a couple of close shaves with cars almost running into the back of him, having to swerve at the last minute, to get in between himself and the barrier. And one day I was travelling on it myself. I saw a fella on a motorbike overtaking a row of traffic where there was somebody in the front that was going to turn right. And I just think myself it would be a lot safer, if there was a turn lane put down there. And for some reason, all of the TIA don't seem to want to put turn lanes on the national routes. But I think there's enough room there to do it.
I think there's a similar issue coming. I think there's a similar issue coming down Lurgy Brack as well. If you wish to turn right, halfway down it, there's a right-hand turn there. But is a right-hand turn safe if you've got effectively a slow and a fast lane coming up the way? If you know what I mean, it's not. I can't see any scenario whereby it feels safe. I'm on about me as a driver, where it feels safe crossing there.
Well, I don't think it's ideal, obviously, when you're crossing two lanes of traffic, but I think it would be much safer, Greg, to be sitting in a box, in a turn lane, rather than to be sitting in a lane of moving traffic to try and get across two lanes. And I know, like, if you go further down there, down to where Northwest Aluminium is, there's boxes on the road there, and I think they work very well, and I don't see any reason why a box couldn't be put there on that lane going down the mountain top. The room's there for it. I think it would be, a good situation. It'd be safer for the residents, the people that are using the road, and especially there when you get people that's not used to that road as well, travelling on it. And we have a lot of tourist people around, and maybe they wouldn't be expecting somebody to be sitting there and waiting to turn across two lanes of traffic. So I just think myself, it would help the situation.
Have you raised this with the TAI yet?
I haven't raised it with them yet because I'm putting it in as a motion now to our next municipal meeting, and that'll be forwarded on then to the TIA. I would assume that the other councillors will agree with me, and we'll get it passed through the municipal meeting, and it'll be forwarded on then to the TIA.
Well, you wouldn't be optimistic. It sounds to me that
it seems to be very difficult to get the TIA to put in these turn lanes, so I'm not going to try and give anybody false hope, but at the same time, if you don't ask the question, you won't ever get an answer on it or get anything done. So look, I'm not I'll just have to see what way things go, but I will be putting the pressure on them and asking them to do it once the motion's passed and forwarded. I'll be asking them serious questions about it and about the safety of the residents there that are turning in right. So
and it's not just stay where you are. It's not just residents; it's also businesses. And Paul McLaughlin of Ballochder Garden Centre is on with us as well. Paul, obviously, you and if you're heading from the Letterkenny direction and customers heading to your business face the same, dash across two lanes of traffic going at different speeds too, which I always find that that complicates judgment even more so. Paul, what do you think? Would you favour a box there for a safer right-hand turn, I wonder?
Hi, Greg. Yeah, we've actually been campaigning there since, I think, 2006 was the first time we raised that with the TIA about a right turning lane. And so far, obviously, we've got nothing so far. Like, that would include for ourselves, for the pub above us, and for the residents below us.
That would be the whole way down the hill, though, effectively, you're talking, are you?
Pretty much. Well, in an ideal world, I would see reducing the speed in the road and actually putting a middle lane in would obviously be the most popular choice, but I think, to be honest, like last year I personally rang an ambulance twice for accidents on that road, and I don't relish doing it again, basically. So I think that's the most sensible option.
Yeah, and I don't use that road that regularly, more so now than I would have in the past, though. How long has it been in its current structure, if you know what I mean? It's a long, fast road with two climbing lanes, one lane going in the other direction. How long has it been like that?
Yeah, as far as I know, the bit past us, sort of between sort of McCaffrey's pub and the school there was, I think it was 2006 it was completed.
All right.
So it was, and at the time, like I say, we campaigned for a right turning lane at that point, but it fell on deaf ears. And even to do with, it was about 2 years ago, they temporarily reduced the speed at the school just for school times. Particularly at that stage, the residents gathered about maybe 3,000 signatures for a view of reducing the speed.
Yeah, and I think also there was a petition too, wasn't there, for a drop-off lane for turning left at Illistrin School?
Yes, there was actually. Funny, following last week, there was actually, but the issue was raised again in the Tyrconnell Tribune there.
Yeah.
Actually, on Friday, I was chatting to the school principal down there, and he said absolutely they'd be behind any sort of attempt to reduce the speed in the road.
Right, so
any additional safety measures.
It sounds like that whole stretch then needs a relook then to address all of the issues that we're talking about.
Absolutely, I would strongly welcome any sort of review of safety issues on the road. So
what is the wording of your motion, Michael? Have you worded it yet? I mean, do you think maybe, I don't know how far down the problems go, but does that whole stretch need to be looked at to make it maybe slow traffic down? Take into consideration the concerns of the 300 odd who signed the petition as it relates to the school, the businesses, the residents that live on that road. Maybe the whole thing needs to be looked at, not just one turning box.
To be honest with you, Greg, I haven't penciled the motion yet, but at the same time, I'll be taking on board what Paul and the residents there are saying, and I'll be fully in support of having a full review of it. I think that'll probably be a good enough way to do it. I've always felt myself that a roundabout down at Dundrevilliston, a big roundabout there, would have been a good job, for reducing traffic speed going down the mountain top, and for turn off there for the Ballyer Road and all that, and for the school coming out of Elliston. But that's something that I think it should be revisited again as well. So look, there's no reason why we can't just ask for a complete review on it. It's probably a sensible enough thing to do,
And I mean, at the end of the day, Paul, no one knows better the situation than those that use the road every day, between the teachers and parents at the school, the businesses like your own, and those that live in the area. I mean, these are the people in a democracy that should be listened to, whereas the TAI, I don't know, they sometimes, I don't know if it's going too far to say the law unto themselves, but it'd be nice if they would take into consideration the local knowledge a bit more, I think.
Absolutely. It's plain anybody uses the road that there are problems with it, and the TAA always come back and say, well, we have to operate within our guidelines and we can't sort of slow things in the national primary route. Yet, if you actually look, I don't know if you're familiar with sort of between Emmyville and Monaghan, there's a wee school there. It's called Carnacreve or something like that there. But with a view to that, it's a school sort of on a national primary road, and there is actually speed limits around the school.
It's also worth remembering that in a lot of cases, it's the TII and the government that build these roads next to the schools. So they have a responsibility to ensure that they're not worsening. I'm not sure if that was the situation in Illustrator, maybe either of you might know, but in a lot of cases, the schools were there and these roads were put past them. It's up to whoever built the roads or designed the roads to ensure that, safety isn't compromised or things don't worsen. It's not just here, it seems to be in a lot of places.
Yeah, it seems to be in a lot of places around the place, but obviously schools have a huge amount of traffic, and especially in mornings and afternoons, so it's it should be plain to be seen that there will be traffic and there will be people accessing into the schools during the day and stuff, so it should be accommodated.
And as you say, Paul, what we're trying to avoid is you having to call, or anyone else having to call, an ambulance again.
Yes, absolutely. No, because I know one accident last year required a gentleman being hospitalised and stuff like that. It's just not nice to see.
All right, listen, thanks for that. I appreciate your time this morning. Councillor McBride, when is that next meeting?
It'll be on the last Tuesday of the month. I don't have the date right.
Right, okay, no problem. All right, listen.
It's only a couple of weeks away.
All right, we'll follow that up. Thanks for your time this morning. By the way, a caller says, I'd also like to highlight the danger when exiting Phillips Medisize, especially turning right. So it's not just that. Thank you very much for that, Michael. I appreciate it. 086 60 25,000 if you've an issue you wish to raise, or call 07491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny. Explore our wide range of virtual tools at kellystoyota.com.
Sensory Complex is the perfect family day out. Kids will love exploring Sensory Play. There's lots of tasty options available at Backstage Bar and Grill. And at Sensory Cinemas, we're showing entertaining kids movies, rom-coms, actions, adventure movies, dramas and more. Call us on 074 9121 or visit sensorycinemas.ie.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money.
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till noon show.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
All right, good luck if you're entering that competition. Hop on the website, highlandradio.com. An emailer said, I'd like to appreciate, I would appreciate you raising the above. My current NCT test expires at the beginning of May 2022. I applied online today for a new test, hoping to get a booking for mid-April. The earliest available test is on the 6th of July 2022. So what am I supposed to do? Do I drive around with no test, or do I have to park up for 2 months? I think the situation is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know, maybe book a bit earlier, but hindsight is 2020. I think if you were to ring the NCT, they might be a little bit more flexible with you and might be able to try and secure you a date before your NCT expires. It doesn't make an awful lot of sense, does it? I think even if we were notified to say that you better apply for your test because there's a backlog or whatever it might be, I don't know. But that is a problem. But I think if you ring the NCT, they might be able to accommodate you there. Now, Paul Madden is CEO of ZincWorks and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing well. A great day for you, a great day for the company, and for 50-odd people, 50 new jobs to be created in the CoLab facility on the Letterkenny IT campus over the next 18 months. Tell us about ZincWorks.
Yeah, so ZincWorks is a software services company that and we focus primarily in research and development in 5G and telecommunications. We've been on the go for 4 years now. We've grown to 180 people and are looking to expand by placing an office in Letterkenny.
And 50 jobs over the next 18 months. Are you confident the people are out there with the right skill sets to match these opportunities?
Yeah, we do, and we like Letterkenny a lot. We've hired a number of people over the last couple of months from Letterkenny, and yeah, it's clear to us that the talent pool is there. Yeah.
Right, tell us a bit more about, if you don't mind, what you actually do. In terms of research and development, like what kind of stuff are you doing?
So it is in mobile communications technology. So we would work with some of the bigger companies in the world in terms of developing 5G networks. And developing enhancements to those networks that are rolled out by operators around the world. We also have our own product portfolio, and we have a research and development team working on that, and that's in 5G private networks.
All right, okay. Now, what kind of qualifications would prospective candidates require? And I don't know it's early days yet, but I mean, just to give us an idea of the type of work that's available.
So primarily it's software developers, and they typically have a skill set around DevOps or Java programming engineers. We've had a discussion with the IT in Letterkenny, and that's a super institute as well, which was part of the reason we've located in Letterkenny. And engineers then that have experience with telecommunications.
Yeah, and when you are looking to, develop or expand your business into an area, I'm just trying to get a sense of, like, I know you've touched on it, but in a bit more detail, why you would choose Letterkenny.
Well, so there's a couple of things. We've seen over the last couple of years with COVID, this idea of remote working becoming more of a reality. But we don't believe in 100% remote working, but we do believe in a hybrid model where people can spend some of the time at home and some of the time in the office. What we didn't want to do was have people working in Letterkenny and asking them to travel to Athlone a couple of days a week where we have our head office, as that's too far a journey. So we've developed a strategy which is bring the office to our people, and this is the first step in that, hopefully, where we would put an office where we have people working for us, or where people want to live, indeed, and try and attract people into that then, and with the intent that they would spend a couple of days in the office and a couple of days working from home.
Yeah, you must be very pleased with the growth of the company over such a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. As a company, we try and have everything around the people who work for us. That's what makes us as a company. And we work really hard at that, and that ties into this strategy. We're placing an office in Letterkenny because we believe it's our people who want an office in Letterkenny.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. I presume when the time is right, jobs will be advertised if they haven't been already.
Yeah, all the ads will be going up today, and we'll be starting a media campaign in terms of and a recruitment effort. Yeah.
All right. Listen. Continued success. Great to hear some good news. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks very much.
All right. Take care of yourself. That is Paul Madden, CEO of Zinc Works. They're creating 50 new jobs at the Colab facility on the Letterkenny IT campus over the next 18 months. Check out their website for more details. Reece Sunday Times report that reveals Ireland has the second most lax COVID restrictions in the world out of 185 nations and only behind Mongolia. What are the excuses this time? When is this little cowboy cabbage patch of a country going to shake off centuries of fecklessness and have a quiet word with itself? I don't know what you mean by that. Hi Greg, just heard you read average house prices in Donegal around 150,000. Friend of mine, a building an average house, quoted 420,000. Something doesn't add up. Different prices. And then I was looking at, because I don't have it to hand, but it was like 130 odd thousand, the average house price they had listed in the Independent today in Donegal. But I see in the Daft average list prices in Donegal, it's 187,518, up 21% year on year, ahead of Sligo on 176,937, and well ahead of Leitrim as well on 165,000. So I must read that to find out where that discrepancy lies between what the Independent is saying is the average house price here versus the Daft survey. Ronan Lyons of Daft will be joining us, and maybe he can help. Right, we've been talking about the situation where people are almost feeling like criminals going into the post office, and then we heard from the post office postmasters union that they're being asked to do things and they're not getting paid for it, but it's making their life more difficult, and customers aren't too happy. Amongst them is Ciara. Hiya, Ciara. Sorry, Ciara. How are you getting on now this morning?
Doing good.
Okay. Right, tell us your experience.
So, Greg, from time to time, I'd visit my local post office just to get some sterling. I have a couple of kids in college in Northern Ireland, and, from time to time, just to give them some cash, to keep them going week to week. And went to the post office last week and was asked to fill in a slip of paper with my name, my address, and my postcode and my date of birth. So I was completely taken aback. I asked why they needed this information. I was absolutely horrified because I was only getting £100 sterling, which isn't a huge amount of money. Maybe if I had been, looking for 10,000 sterling or something, you would say, well, yes, it's for transparency reasons, or,
we have to keep an eye on money laundering or something, yeah.
Something like that. So, and it just concerned me. And then also, I was taken aback. And then I was, thinking about it afterwards. And I was thinking, even from a privacy perspective, I just was very uncomfortable with giving that level of information to somebody. And it was literally on a little slip of paper. It's not as if it was going, into a computer that I could see in front of me. But I just was really, really uncomfortable about it. And when I asked the individual at the counter, they indicated, look, this is what we've been asked to do. It's coming from the central bank, and it really put me off. And I would really think twice now about going back.
Well, you raised a couple of interesting points here, right? Because firstly, are all these slips of paper being put into an envelope and posted off to the central bank? The fact that it's on a slip of paper seems a strange way of doing it. But secondly, between your name, your address, your postcode, and your date of birth, that's in the wrong hands. The wrong people could do an awful lot of bad work with that information as well. I mean, did you get any assurances as to what happens to this slip of paper when it's handed over?
No, I didn't, and I've actually since then sent an email to Post to their privacy office, looking for some clarity on it, because my first question was like, legally, why are they collecting this information? What's the legal basis for it? And from a GDPR perspective, then there's all sorts of rules around collecting that type of data and how it's protected, and how it's processed, and et cetera,
Who has access to it? What happens to it? What happens to that strip of paper if it's inputted into a computer at a later date? Who's doing that? What happens to the strip of paper? Is it just put in the bin? Is it shredded?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as I say, it's the combination of information that's on that slip of paper that is a particular concern for me. I'm not a particularly private person, but, you know, between your date of birth, your actual address, your name, your number's not on it, is it? Not that that matters, but...
Yeah.
And also, why is there not, like, anything over $1,000 or something? I mean, who is going to be laundering cash from criminal activity €100 at a time or €50 at a time? It doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't, and I was questioning then: is it a ploy to, you know, stop people using their post offices? You know, because the post office don't charge commission, and that's one of the reasons why I use it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to the bank, they charge you commission and all sorts of charges. Or is it a mechanism to have us use, you know, maybe one of their other services, a foreign exchange card, currency card, etc.? I would just be interested to know what is the reason why they're doing this.
Yeah, and in 2022, is our solution to something like this pen and paper as well? Even if you had a card that you could tap or something, it might feel less, less intrusive. But it doesn't seem a very efficient way of doing it. Writing stuff out and handing over a slip of paper.
Absolutely not, you know. And then the other question is, will they use my information for something else, for marketing purposes and things like that? So it just leaves an avalanche of questions. And I have written down posts, but I'm still awaiting a response. So, but I know it's not the fault of the individuals in the post office. They're just trying to do their job. But I think it's just way too excessive.
Yeah. And did it look like a templated piece of paper that you wrote your details on? It wasn't just okay, right, okay.
You weren't signing up to anything. There was no small print about consent or anything like that.
No boxes or nothing to tick.
No,
right.
Nothing.
Okay. And would it put you off going back to the post office I mean, you talked about, obviously, we're all trying to save as much money as we can. There's fewer fees there. Would it stop you going back again?
Absolutely, it definitely would, and maybe that's the reason why. Like, but every time it's not that I go every week, but maybe this is just something newly introduced.
It is, yeah, it is relatively new, yeah. And of course, we were discussing this on the programme last week, Ciara, and Postmasters Union aren't happy about this because they're being asked to do this, and they're not getting paid to do it. It's extra work for them, so they're not happy about it. The customer's not happy about it, and we're struggling to get answers as to who it's actually for. And you raised some really important privacy questions. Obviously, who has access to this slip of paper? Where does it go? Are you being signed up for, a mailing list? There's lots and lots of questions there that I think we deserve answers to.
Yeah.
All right, we'll make further inquiries, Ciara, to see what the crack is. And stay tuned. We'll see what comes from it. Thanks for raising it with us this morning.
No problem. Thank you, Greg.
Okay. 086 60 25,000 if you wish to comment on that issue, or you've got any insight to it, or any experience that you want to share.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny, with offers on a wide range of passenger and commercial vehicles.
Tune in this Tuesday to the Community Garda information, on air after 10 a.m. on the 9 till noon show with Greg Hughes, in association with Northwest Alarms, your one-stop shop for domestic and commercial security in Donegal.
New this week in Home Store and More. All towels are half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price towels are gone, they're gone. Also, all Pyrex is still half price. But when all our half price Pyrex is gone, it's definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. And don't forget to check out our summer range of garden furniture, barbecues, solar lights, and much more. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors with both permanent remote working and hybrid opportunities available. Experience in contact centres or insurance services is desirable but not essential, as full training is provided. Fully funded financial services qualifications delivering attractive career path opportunities are available. Please visit their website www.forwardemphasis.ie or apply via their careers page.
Don't just do okay in your career. Do great at Allstate. Don't settle. Soar. Don't procrastinate. Innovate. Don't do mediocre. Do magnificent. At Allstate. Great work. Great life. Great people. where great opportunities await. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
June 2022, August 2022, January 2023. Is that what you're hearing when inquiring about the delivery of a new vehicle? Guess what? That's not the case at iMotors. Call in today and choose your new car with immediate delivery available across our full range of Nissan and Kia models. Drive away in your new 2022 car. Call iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin on 07491 34567.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Gatwick's back. You can now fly daily to London Gatwick with Aer Lingus, the perfect gateway to explore South London. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
So mist and fog will clear with most places this morning, but may linger near eastern coast, which is east of the north, if you know what I mean. So across our region here in the northwest, it'll be a dry morning with good sunny spells. During the afternoon and evening, a few showers though will break out. Temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. Right, I was contacted on social media, Twitter primarily, by a number of people upset at the cutting back of trees, particularly this time of year. But anyway, these are mature trees in Ramelton. We've gotten onto the council about this, by the way. It's not the first time we've done this story, because what they do to these trees is quite stark. You know, they end up looking butchered, really. And I'm sure it's not like that. I'm not trying to be emotive, but I mean, to the naked eye, they're there and everything's been cut off them. You know, the short branches topped off, and just the trunk effectively left there. That's the look of it. That's what people in Ramelton are seeing. As I say, we've done this before. It was in the Ballabafay area, Stranora area a couple of years ago, and I think at the time, the reason given was the fact that it was a maintenance issue. But anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get to a response from the council, but I want to speak first to Angus Kennedy of Nature Northwest. Good morning to you, Angus.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am good. Right, okay, so say we've been down this road before. You've seen the images, or maybe even in person, what they've done to the trees in Ramelton. Can you explain what's happened to us from your perspective?
Yeah, it's not that far from where I live, actually.
Okay.
They've taken out, there was 4 big trees there, and they've taken out 2 of them, I think it is. And then they've severely cut back 2 others. And they were horse chestnut trees, and they were at least 100 years old. I don't have an accurate age on them, but I'd say they were at least that. And they made for quite a dramatic scene as you came into Ramelton. People will be familiar with that road as you approach from the Letterkenny side, and those big trees on the right. Right opposite the church. However, they were showing sign of disease, and it was probably about 6 years ago that I first noticed things called bracket funguses. Bracket funguses are kind of like discs that seem to protrude out from the bark of the tree, and they're the fruiting body of some kind of fungus that's attacking a tree. And you see them quite a lot. They're quite naturally occurring things, but they're a sign that the trees are weakening, and they were showing that sign, unfortunately.
So they're dying, are they?
So, yeah, absolutely. They were under attack. Now, trees like that can live for a very long time. So what they've done is, I think they've done their very best to try and conserve a couple of them at least, and they haven't taken them down altogether. But there were, so the very first one, it's lost a couple of big limbs over the last couple of storms or last couple of winters. And it is a naturally occurring thing, unfortunately.
So in other words, if these were in the middle of a field somewhere, you wouldn't bat an eyelid, but because they are in a public space, because we've seen bits of them fall off in storms, an assessment is made, and this is it's shocking to look at, but this is the course of action that's required.
Yeah, I think unfortunately it was probably inevitable. Now, what could have perhaps been done was if they were assessed at an earlier period, an earlier time, they maybe wouldn't have had to cut them back so harshly.
Yeah.
Maybe wouldn't have had to take a couple of them down altogether. These kind of trees and these kind of older specimens, and we've a huge amount of older trees certainly in that kind of central and east part of Donegal. We're very lucky with a lot of the lovely mature trees, but an awful lot of them have been planted during the last 100, 200 years, and it is something that they do need to be managed, because we tend to wait until it's too late. A limb comes down, somebody gets a scare, and then we hear big cries that we want to take down the whole lot. Which is an awful tragedy, because they're a hard kind of thing to
So
replace.
if we're not doing it already, are you suggesting, a annual or every other year audit of, these types of trees in these types of areas, so that if they do show sign of fungal infection or whatever it might be, that we can get in there early and try and save them rather than wait until such a time whereby the only course of action is to chop them.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that's a huge ask for the council to do, but it is something that I think there should be more effort and more focus put on, but also from community groups themselves. And Remelton Tidy Town, I know, have been looking at and identifying some of the marvellous beech trees that they have within the town. But some of those are coming quite old, and some are just coming to their natural age. But if you can save them, or if you can get them in time, you can stop having to demolish them altogether. Because as your listeners that were calling in, we're telling you, it's dramatic, because we get used to they're just such a huge part of the landscape. These things, these mighty big trees, and then to have to cut them down, much of them altogether, is a very dramatic.
Why not remove them altogether? Why would we sort of leave the trunk and the butt of the branches? Is it that they might grow back, or what?
Yeah, they quite often they can grow back. So you'll sometimes see some of those bigger trees. They can be thinned to allow the wind come through them. And because once they get old, and certainly the likes of, say, beech trees, they've reasonably shallow roots now. Not so much so for those horse chestnut, but the beech trees, the reasonably shallow roots. If the ground gets very wet with an awful lot of rain, they can come down. And climate change, of course, we know, is our rainfall and our intensity of rainfall is increasing, and our intensity of storms are increasing. We're seeing it and feeling it now ourselves. We don't even need the science, I think, anymore to tell us that. But if we can manage those trees and thin them a little bit for the wind to get through them, we won't lose quite as many. And the same for the likes of the horse chestnut trees. But they do need to be managed.
Yeah.
And they're on roadsides,
This fungus, is it always a threat to the horse chestnut, or is this something that's emerged recently, or what's the story there?
It's interesting. There's a few different things have come recently. I think it was 2009 is the first it's a strange name, bleeding Canker disease. It affects the bark of horse chestnut trees, and they tend to kind of weep, so hence it gets that funny name. And it's another fungal attack. But there's quite a few diseases that attack those kind of trees. But that first came into Ireland, I think it was 2009, and we had ash dieback first came into Ireland in 2012. And it's part of our globalisation, where we're tending to move around more, we're tending to move materials around more, and with them quite often comes various bugs which might be carrying diseases and whatnot. One of the most famous for that is the Dutch Elm Disease. In the 1980s, devastated huge numbers of the massive, graceful.
That was a big story at the time too, wasn't it? It was a mainstream story then.
It was massive. I remember I grew up in Dublin, and I remember my father taking me along the canal and driving along the canal and showing me all the trees that they were going to take down. And it was a huge vista. It was changing that whole scene along the canal, and they planted those trees on the edge of the canal, amazingly, to use them as raw materials 150 odd years ago, because elm was good for that kind of thing. But it's something we do need to be aware of, and it's something we should be all looking at in our own communities. And how can we replace these trees? Because a lot of trees are very old. They're going to come to their natural age. People are going to do their best to conserve them as much as they can. But we need to start thinking of replacing them, because it takes a long time to...
Yeah, for sure. We need to have the foresight that whoever had the foresight a couple of hundred years ago. In terms of when you can cut trees down, are you familiar with that legislation, Angus? Because when a story like this comes up, people say, well, you can't cut trees down. But I was looking through the legislation, and if I'm reading it correctly, there's almost more reasons that you can cut trees down at this time of year, or fell them, or whatever. There's more reasons that permit you to do it than don't. Is there anything needs to be looked at there, do you think?
The biggest thing is that you can't just go removing the tree by just taking a notion. If it's in danger to your property, or if it's a certain distance to your property, if it's very close to your property, yes, they can be done. But time of year is huge, and we've all over the last few days been enjoying, hopefully anyway, enjoying the good weather and listening to the bird song. But not just the bird song, we can see so much activity from nature. It's all really kicking off, and there's a reason we're not allowed to cut the hedges from the 1st of March to September, and there's a reason we're not allowed to go near the trees as well, unless of course they're going to be a danger.
Now we have all sort of got ahead of ourselves. People got the barbecues out, sun hats out, sunscreen out at the beaches, all that there. And we're going to get colder weather later this week. It's only March. Hopefully more good weather to come. Has nature jumped the gun a little bit? You talked about how, nature has sprung to life. Is it a bit early for them guys as well, with some colder weather being predicted?
It's early, all right, for sure, yeah. The bumblebees, if anybody's been under some of our willow trees, and willow trees are the sally bush that people don't even really notice most of the time, but this time of year they jump out because they have these fluffy yellow flowers on them. They're full of pollen, and the bees that have been hibernating all winter, they're now feeding on those, the big bumblebees, and it's the big queens that you'll see. And each one of those queens, as long as they've enough willow trees or dandelions or whatever, they'll have a colony of 200-300 bees this year, which will pollinate our crops and pollinate our wildflowers. So they always come out at this time of year, and they're very tough. They'll be able to withstand a bit of cold weather if needs be. However, I saw some butterflies over the last few days, and we've a couple of species of butterfly that hibernate amazingly. We don't really think of butterflies doing that, but they overwinter. And once they come out, once they warm up and start getting going, they like the weather to be a little warmer, so they might struggle all right. And the likes of the bats have been out already, and they might struggle all right with a few days. But hopefully the cold blast doesn't last long.
Would you be inclined to suggest people maybe delay the first cut of the lawn for a few weeks? Does that help in, nature?
100%, yeah. And you hear this phrase now going around, no mow till May, no mow May. So what that is about is if you leave your lawn, even just for a couple of weeks, you'll see the little white clovers come up in particular, and you'll see the buttercups and all the rest, and they're very pretty in their own way. But they are really important forage food for all those bees, and lots of other insects as well, which are in trouble. It's a terribly simple thing to do. Sometimes people feel the idea of leaving the whole lawn is too much. Well, then leave a section of it. But and you hear that message more and more now, but it's vitally important.
All right.
Because nature needs our help.
I'm sure we'll hear more about that when you join John on Around the Northwest in the future. Thanks, Angus. Angus Kennedy there of Nature Northwest. So the council says the trees in question were assessed by a local tree surgeon who established that these trees were in a very poor condition with disease and rot. It was recommended for public safety reasons to seek prices from qualified tree contractors to safely fell and dispose of trees, crown reductions and replacement of semi-mature trees. Donegal County Council sought prices for tree services in January 22 and appointed a contractor on February 2nd. The contractor was met on site where it was stressed that work should start immediately. Unfortunately, due to the damage caused by the subsequent storms during this time, all tree services were overwhelmed and works were delayed in Ramelton until the 21st of March. In consideration of the public safety risk, the Road Office decided to proceed with the works in the understanding that any trees that had evidence of nesting would not be touched until later in the year. So hopefully it's not. The answer is not going to satisfy everyone, but that is the answer to that change in the tree landscape in Ramelton. All right, stay where you are. Loads coming up on the programme after the news at 10 and the obituary notices.
The 9 till Noon Show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny. Stockists of a wide range of used passenger and commercial vehicles.
Glebe Gallery Open Art Competition is back after 2 years. Artists wishing to submit for this year's Glebe Gallery Open Art Competition should bring their artworks to the Glebe Gallery, Churchill, Letterkenny this weekend, the 2nd and 3rd of April, between 12 and 5 p.m. Artists can submit up to 4 artworks and the entry fee is €4 per piece. The exhibition will open on Good Friday the 15th of April at 4 p.m. and all are welcome to attend. The exhibition will run until Sunday the 24th of April. Admission to the exhibition is free. Pictures must be framed and ready to hang if selected. Further details are on the Glebe House and Gallery Facebook page.
Are you troubled with painful varicose veins? Restore your confidence with vein treatment at Kingsbridge Private Hospital, Letterkenny. Our vascular consultants offer assessment, advice and options on the latest treatments available. So why wait? Say goodbye to varicose veins and hello to healthy legs. With appointments available, why not book your consultation today? Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.ie to find out more. Because life matters.
Are you involved in a digital project in your town or community? Would you like to share in a €100,000 prize fund? The .ie Digital Town Awards shine a light on the achievements of local towns for digital projects in health, education, tourism and community. To enter the .ie Digital Town Awards, visit weare.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
There's more furniture than ever on display at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. With extra floor space, there's more suites, beds, dining room and occasional furniture. Also more rugs, mirrors and lamps, all available for immediate delivery. If you'd like to make a beautiful addition to your home, there's more furniture than ever to choose from at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny, and at mcginleysfurniture.com.
This week on the DL Debate, we'll have feedback and analysis from all the big games of the weekend, including from our Donegal hurling camp as they face Sligo in the Division 2B semi-final at O'Donnell Park on Saturday, and at the same venue on Sunday, Donegal face Armagh in the final game of the league, needing a win to guarantee safety. We'll hear from the players and management on the day. Also on the show, my guests will include Armagh legend Oisin McConville and sports editor with the Democrat Alan Foley. That's the DL Debate after the 7pm news this Monday on Highland Radio and podcasted on highlandradio.com.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9pm daily in Sarah's Kitchen.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. 50 new jobs are to be created at the CoLab facility on the Letterkenny IT campus over the next 18 months. Zinkworks, a telecoms and financial services research and development company with an Irish base in Athlone, has announced the establishment of a software engineering hub. The project is supported by IDA Ireland. It will provide software development services, including 5G network consulting. Michelle Conahan, the IDA regional manager for the Northwest, says this is a particularly important announcement in the week that Letterkenny IT is preparing to transition into full technological university status.
The new technological university is such an addition for the region. For the first time, we're going to have 8 university towns across the Northwest, and I think that will really add to the attractiveness of the region. And on a lovely Donegal day, isn't it a great announcement to be having, especially in that week in the run-up?
The HSC received over €5 million in car parking charges at public hospitals last year, according to Freedom of Information files. The average was €244,000 per hospital. The figures cover 21 statutory hospital car parks. No figures are available for Letterkenny or Sligo. By far, the highest figure received was €1.2 million paid at Cork University Hospital, followed by $657,000 in Galway University Hospital. Beaumont Hospital consultant Bill Tormey says these charges should be reduced.
The car parking should be a seasonal car parking arrangement, and it should be a lot cheaper because people have to spend an absolute fortune. To abolish them entirely would result in people freeloading on hospital car parks in good sites. So I think there should be some charge, but the charge should be moderate. I think the way it is at the moment is basically a rip-off.
In Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky has acknowledged they may have to concede some territory to Russia ahead of peace talks between the two countries. He said he wants to make a deal with Moscow over Donbass, which has been partly controlled by Russian-backed separatists since 2014. €2.32 million has been announced in funding for housing adaptation grants for older people and people with a disability in Donegal. 80% of the money is coming from government, with matching funds from Donegal County Council. Grants of up to €30,000 are available to assist disabled people carry out necessary works to make a house more suitable for their needs, while grants of up to €8,000 are available to assist older people make repairs. Up to €6,000 is available for mobility aids. 2 new housing reports show house prices continued to rise in the first quarter of the year, particularly outside Dublin. The publications from My Home and Daft.ie have also warned the number of units available on their sites reached new lows. In 2022, My Home's report shows a 12% rise year on year in national median asking prices. According to Daft.ie, prices in Donegal were 32% higher in the first quarter of this year compared to the same period last year, where the rise was 3%. The average price of a house in Donegal is now €188,000. That's 65% above the lowest point. And economist Ronan Lyons says it's areas like Donegal where the highest increases are being seen.
If you look now compared to a year ago, there's a big urban-rural split. Prices in rural parts of the country are up by a lot more in percentage terms than they are in the cities. But the signals over the last 3-6 months or so are if anything, that it's as bad everywhere as it is anywhere, if that makes sense. And it's down to a lack of supply ultimately.
Gardaí are warning business premises in Donegal, which stock large amounts of cigarettes, that the last number of days has seen a number of break-ins in such premises across the country, particularly in western counties. Crime Prevention Officer in Donegal, Sergeant Paul Wallace, says there is clearly a well-informed and well-prepared organised crime gang operating, and he says when this has happened in the past, Donegal has invariably been targeted. He's urging such businesses to be aware of the danger and to review their security.
Review your CCTV. Is it doing what it should be doing? Is your alarm up to spec? You know, have you monitoring? Have you a secondary device that will signal should a phone line or whatever be taken out? So it's just something that we'd like to get out to the general public, and also the people who be engaged in wholesale. We have a number of people who wholesale cigarettes and tobacco products in the county, so it's just to give them the heads up on it.
Weather forecast Met Éireann tell us any lingering mist and fog will clear, leaving a dry morning with good sunny spells. This afternoon and evening we will see a few showers. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees Celsius in light easterly or variable breezes. Well, that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Good morning. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, the 28th of March. The death has taken place of Michael Sharkey, Shrohan Falcara. Removal from Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny this afternoon at 3 o'clock, going to his late residence. Wake is private to family, close friends and neighbours, please, with Rosary nightly at 8 p.m. Funeral Mass in Christ the King Church, Gorthahork on Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjacent cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on the Gorthahork Parish webcam or on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of William John McCrae, 19 Carrigan's Road, Newton Stewart. His remains are reposing at his son Gordon's residence, 14 Carrigan's Road, Newton Stewart. Funeral service at Gordon's home tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in Droid Graveyard. The death has taken place of Michael Monaghan, Tulnaree, Carndonagh. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral arrangements will be confirmed later. The death has taken place of Kevin Quinn, Grange, Inch Island. His remains will repose at his sister Margaret's residence at Grange, Inch Island from 5 o'clock this evening. Removal on Wednesday morning at 10:15 to Our Lady of Lourdes Church, Inch, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private please to family and friends only. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Director. The death has occurred of Elizabeth Bessie McLaughlin, Cleena Ballymcgann, Buncrana. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:10 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Cockhill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Barbara Doherty, Babby, Westtown, Malin Head. Funeral from her home this afternoon at 1:30 to Star of the Sea Church, Malin Head, for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock, with interment afterwards in Lag Cemetery, Malin. House and funeral are strictly private to family only, please. The death has taken place of Mary Carey, Carol Begg, Lekemi Carndonagh. Mary's remains are reposing at Collins Funeral Home, Culdaff. Removal and wake for immediate family only, please. Requiem Mass for Mary will take place at 11 o'clock tomorrow in St Columba's Church, Ballinacray, with interment afterwards in Ballinacray Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations to the Alzheimer's Society via any family member. The death has taken place of Bridie McGogan, Clay, Malin. Bridie's remains are reposing at her residence. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Clay, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. And the death has occurred of David Gibson, Killyverry, Newton Cunningham. David's remains are reposing at his daughter's residence at 13 Dunry Gardens, Cregan, Derry. Funeral from there this morning for Mass in All Saints Church, Newton Cunningham, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on newtonkillayparish.com. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
It's not just a sewing machine. For Maya, it's a chance to give her family a better life. It's not just a way to make a living. It's a chance to give her daughter an education. Like thousands of mothers, Maya lives in fear of what the future holds for her little girl. And it's not just. This Lent, your love can make all the difference. Visit Trúchra.org or call 1800 408 408. Trúchra, until love conquers fear.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. Greg, I went to my bank last week to get a few bob sterling, and it has to come out of your account. If you do not have an account, you can't walk into a bank and buy sterling. That's been like that case for a long time, because I think about 2 or 3 years ago, we were doing that story, and it was as it relates to tourists coming in, and that set up complicating things for tourists. So that's been around a while, it seems. Greg, talking about these trees, who cuts the trees on your land where they've grown so high they're almost hitting overhead cables? Is it the ESB, the county councillor? Is the onus on the landowner? Anyone out there know what the situation is? If you have trees on your property and they are beginning to sort of encroach on the ESB power lines, whose responsibility is it to cut them back? I know someone out there has been through that, I'm sure, and they're able to help us with that. You are covered by your cert of roadworthiness. This is the NCT, by the way. If you can show a Garda an email showing that you've applied for an NCT, even though it is several months beyond the due date, it's not necessary to stop driving just because there is a backlog. On another point, I was in a similar position where I couldn't book a test online for 2 months. When I rang the NCT HQ, I got a test at my local centre 2 weeks later. The staff are very helpful, and that's what I was suggesting. If you ring the NCT staff, they can accommodate it if there's a necessity. I know what you're saying about an email that you've booked your test. I just don't know if that's official. You could come across a particular guard, for instance, who I think probably could do you for not having an NCT, even if you had a letter that it was booked. As I say, you might be lucky. They might go, okay, fair enough. I don't know. I wouldn't want to roll the dice on that one. But thank you very much for your email. And I know a lot of people do that as well, by the way. Back to your post office. In our post office, they ask you the question and they fill it in so the people in the queue behind you hear all your information. That's one of my bugbears, that is. And you do see it in some businesses whereby you have to divulge private information, you know, and what you're talking about is within earshot, especially if they have a microphone in the glass between you and they. Greg, did you know that An Post will change your euros to sterling, but they will not change sterling back to euros? Okay, that's quite remarkable. Another, I went into the bank with 2 plastic bags of loose change to change into notes, about €50. I had to lodge it into my account before they'd give me the cash because of money laundering regulations. Nonsensical. I mean, this is bureaucracy gone mad. It certainly feels like it, doesn't it? Really enjoyed the match yesterday. This is the Donegal game. The atmosphere was amazing. So good getting back to all things we enjoy. Plenty of entertainment on the pitch and off the pitch. Ulster football at its best. Yeah, indeed. It really, from an early stage, seemingly listening to Oisín's commentary, kicked off into a cracking match from the get-go. It had all the twists and turns you'd expect, and then obviously it's good to get the result. Just look at the census form, the personal questions on it. No one should fill out these questions. Well, that is anonymous, and that's a system, and that's to our benefit. You know, I wouldn't be listening to people discouraging you from filling it out. Firstly, you could end up getting fined, and secondly, it's completely anonymous, and this is the information that's used to determine whether a nursing home is provided in an area as it relates to schools, policing and other areas. You know, I mean, I know we're all up on edge about everything that's been going on, but the census form is literally just a census form. There's not a conspiracy everywhere. A caller says, I'm not saying you believe that to be conspiracy, by the way, but there are lots of people out there that are trying to discourage people from filling it out, and they won't be there to pick up the pieces when someone calls around and says, why didn't you fill it out? I recently went to the post office to get a postal order for €52, and I got the same line of questioning. I don't mind having to do it if I was asking for over 1,000, but for €52, it's ridiculous. I think so. Yeah, why is it for small amounts? I think, 1,000. Does anyone know why the water has been turned off on an intermittent basis on weekdays up to 6 p.m. in the Clonglass Buncrana area for the past year? Wow, it's been going on for a year. Someone out there surely to know the answer to that. We'll make our inquiries as well. And finally, just before we take the bingo numbers, in relation to Will Smith hitting Chris Rock at the Oscars, why is this type of violence accepted? He should have immediately lost his Oscar for his behaviour. Yeah, indeed. But also, I'm not in any way condoning the actions, okay? Because firstly, there's a lot of people, and it's not the big blockbusters, the Spider-Mans and the Batmans and all those films aren't even considered. This is pretentious nonsense, I think, a lot of it anyway. But it's very important for small, independent filmmakers, maybe films, to get a spotlight that don't normally get as many bums on seats, that will get a lift from the Oscars. And in his act, Will Smith, he's stolen all the headlines. Everybody's talking about him. That being said, this crack of, humour at the expense of somebody else, which Chris Rock was responsible for, that's boring. That's old-fashioned. If you're a comedian, get up on stage and make people laugh. Do you really have to insult people or insult their appearance? And if you think of maybe, younger people who had the same condition as Will Smith's wife, and I'm referring to her as that because her name escapes me at the moment. I know she's a person in her own right. You might be going into school today and getting the same G.I. Jane jokes. I mean, grow up. You're a comedian, come up with different jokes. I'm not woke, by the way, and ultra this, that and the other, but I know there's young ones that might have a similar condition, or maybe going through treatment, or maybe they wear their hair a certain way by choice, and they're going to get the same nasty sort of schoolyard kind of jokes that, in inverted commas, that Chris Rock came out with, directed towards Will Smith's wife, who, I apologise, her name escapes me at the moment, but it will come to me. That doesn't condone the action either, but listen, let's have the conversation about if that is that really the type of humour that's truly entertaining. I don't know. Just before the bingo, by the way, I want to let you know that you have the opportunity to win the holiday of a lifetime with us here at Highland Radio. We're running a competition that if you have the money and you like to buy tickets for things, it could be for you. The tickets are €1 for €10. Sorry, one ticket for €10, 6 for 50 or 10 for 80 if you want to gift them, okay? So the more you buy, the cheaper it becomes. And what is up for grabs? Well, it's a €10,000 voucher for a holiday of a lifetime or a series of holidays. Maybe you want to go back and forwards from Albufeira 10 times. Well, you can do that with your 10 grand travel voucher. And you also win €5,000 in spending money, which makes it a €15,000 prize in total. It's in association with Atlantic Travel. And you know yourself, you can make up your own mind as to where you might go if you win. To do so, all you have to do is buy a ticket. We've already given away a wonderful holiday for two to Turkey. The big prize is going to be drawn in just a short couple of weeks away, the 13th of April. So get on our website, highlandradio.com, and buy your tickets if you want to, and be in with a chance of winning. One of you listening or entering will win that great prize. Okay, more great prizes available for you now, and you're supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland in playing...
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 28th of March. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S1. It's game number 13. The numbers are 9, 75, 37, 51, 30, 78, 48, 14, 68, and finally 38. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny, where you can care for your Toyota with a 2-year service pack from €299.
Longcom has an exclusive beauty gift waiting just for you at McGee's Pharmacy. Simply purchase 2 Longcom products, one to be skincare, and receive your free 6-piece gift containing a full-size Tonique Comfort Toner, a choice of either Hydrozen or Absolute day and night travel size creams, plus more of your favourite iconic Longcom products. Available until Sunday the 27th of March or while stocks last. T's and C's apply at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
All ready for next year? Why not make sure of it with SEAT? Trade up to a 221 SEAT SUV and you'll be offered PCP finance from 1.9% and a 3-year service plan for just $9.99 a month. With the bold new Arona, the stylish new Ateca, or the outstanding 7-seater Tarraco, we're all ready. Are you? Trade up to your 221 SEAT SUV at DMG Motors, Clough Road, Donegal Town. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, trading as SEAT Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit seat.ie/221 for further information.
Discover the Dunnes Stores app and put better value at your fingertips. Tap to browse all our latest grocery offers. See all your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers stored in one place and scan your Value Club card to earn points. All within the app, saving you time and money. Plus, download the app today and you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
Pet Value Ballybuffet has just got bigger. Yes, we've opened store number 2 at St Mary's Road, Buncrana. And to celebrate, one lucky customer will win €1,000 of home heating oil. Simply call into the store during March and you will be entered into the draw. Pet Value are open Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m, Sunday 12 till 5. With fantastic offers across both stores. Pet Value, your one-stop shop for all your animal needs.
Okay, coming up on the programme a little later on, Brendan Devaney will be reflecting on the weekend sport, plugging his podcast, but we're going to exploit that to find out what he thinks of all the action at the weekend. All right, we had the message in from a listener. Does anyone know why the water has been turned off on an intermittent basis on weekdays up to 6 p.m. in Clonglass, Buncrana for the last year? Thankfully, Councillor Rena Donaghy was listening to that comment, and Rena, do you have an answer to that question for us?
Yeah, Greg, that is a private group scheme, and there's many private group schemes around the country. And the pumps there need upgrading. The pumps need to be upgraded in the pump house. And until that is done, there won't be full supply. Now, I have spoken to one of the trustees, and I have explained that. Now, what needs to happen is that they meet with the users on the scheme and discuss the problem. There is money. I've spoken to the County Council last year. The money is there and available for doing this. So that needs to be done. The trustees need to talk to the residents and they need to get a resolution, go back to the council, and the money is there for them. There is money set aside every year for that type of thing. So there's no reason why that should be happening. That can be sorted fairly quickly.
So those with the responsibility get in touch with the council. The money's there, and presumably then it comes down to as quick as they can get someone on site to fix the job?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know how many people are affected by it, Rena?
Maybe about 15 houses.
Okay. So it's not
roughly.
not insignificant. But your water, not knowing when you have water supply and it being off during the day, it's a huge inconvenience in this day and age.
Yeah, it is, because people can't put on dishwashers, people can't put on washing machines. It's really inconvenient.
Yeah, okay, right. So the ball's in the trustees' court, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they need to talk to the residents and they need to talk to the County Council. I have already spoken to the County Council early last year, and the money is there, so the pumps need to be upgraded.
Okay, simple as that. Right, okay, we'll chase that up. Thank you very much, Rena. Appreciate you informing us of that, all right?
Thank you, Greg.
Take care, bye-bye. A caller says, sorry, it's an actual emailer. Hi, Greg. Why did Ireland lobby so very hard to successfully win a seat on the UN Security Council if all Ireland ever intended to do was to sit on their hands while previously singing to the rafters about what a tremendous accomplishment it was to secure the UN seat? And now Ireland is nowhere to be found when it comes to securing a ceasefire and peace in Ukraine. Indeed, but I just feel that we have rolled in behind the European party line, though, and I said it weeks ago. I don't understand why we aren't using our unique position, you could say, to influence. Cork University Hospital took in €1.25 million in car parking charges last year. I mean, that's a business in and of itself, isn't it? According to Freedom of Information files, it's the highest amount collected at a HSE hospital in 2021. The total across 21 public hospitals was over 5.1 million. So, I mean, that's quite a lot, isn't it? One consultant at Beaumont Hospital, Bill Tormey, described the charges as a rip-off. Who could disagree? €1.25 million. I mean, you'd want to know what that money was being used for. We'll try and get the figures for the hospital locally to see how much it is. In the past, it's not been one of the highest, but as I say, we'll dig out those figures if the news team haven't already and bring them to you. In other news, the government is to pay €1 for every €3 a worker puts into their pension under new plans. The Irish Independent reports today the proposals for an enrolment system, auto-enrolment, will go before Cabinet this week. It would see anyone earning above €20,000 a year automatically signed up to pension contributions. Employers will have to match what employees put in, but it's expected to be done on a gradual basis. So what do you think about that? Would you opt out? Is it the kick up the bum maybe some of us need? You know, often we think we can't afford something, but maybe, you know, if we're compelled in a certain direction, we can find a way. What do you think? 086 60 25,000, that's your WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Okay, very shortly on the programme, we're going to be joined by economist at Trinity College, Ronan Lyons. He's the author too of the the daft.ie report on house prices. I have lots of questions as it relates to this, of course. You know, there seems to be a discrepancy between, not discrepancy, but different figures in different reports. But we're going to find out exactly what the situation is from a daft.ie perspective. The headlines from that report: house prices rose by 2.4% on average during the first 3 months of 2022. The average listed price nationwide in the first quarter of 2022 was 299,000, up 8.4 in the same period in 2021. Increases remain small in urban areas compared to rural areas, although the gap is narrowing. And I hope now we might be able to say good morning to Ronan Lyons. Ronan, can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to have you with us. Now, you might just explain something to me if you don't mind. And I'm not asking you to comment on or critique anyone else's information, but I just couldn't help but notice in the Independent, the average house price in Donegal, 132,500, but much higher in the daft.ie index. 50,000 odd in a difference, 187 I believe it was. I have the figures here in front of me somewhere. Why would there be such a big difference between the two figures coming out this morning, Ronan?
Yeah, I suspect that's just about the properties that they're looking at. So in our report, the figure that you have there is an average across all the different property types. So from one-bed apartments all the way through to 5-bed detached and bungalows. I think the Irish Independent one is just the 3-bed. I'm not sure if it's 3-bed semi-detached or I think it's a 3-bed home. And that figure would be roughly in line with what we're seeing. And there's a snapshot that we have in the report, and it has 3-bed semi-detached in particular, and the average for Donegal is about €125,000.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of bigger houses in this part of the world as well. So I think maybe doing it across the board, particularly from a Donegal perspective, might be more reflective of the reality. And as I say, neither you or I are criticising the model the Independent use. I'm just saying by the by, you know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And each has a slightly different method, and they all add something. And what's nice about, say, a 3-bed semi-D is you know exactly what you're looking at in different parts of you know exactly what you're looking at when you see a figure for the overall average, as you say, for somewhere like Donegal. And there is a snapshot table in the report that gives 1 to 5 beds by county, and you can see, say, for a 5-bed in Donegal, the average value at the moment is 235,000. And for many people in Donegal, one of the attractions is that they get to live somewhere bigger than they would if they were living somewhere else. So sometimes having the variety of stats helps.
Right. So in terms of, I think your survey, Ronan, is asking prices, but presumably those prices are being achieved.
Yeah, and in fact, we have some supplementary analysis that will be coming out next week that looks at the matching the properties that are listed with the ultimate transactions. And I don't want to give away the goodies, but basically the results for that will be, as you say, that on average the typical property sells for slightly above, a couple of percentage points above its original listed price. So that's why we are comfortable using listed prices, because they're so current. And at the moment the market is a little bit hot. Actually, prices are above rather than below the listed price.
Yeah, so what often in the past we would have talked about house prices increasing, Ronan, in Donegal, and it was always, from a low base. Where, in terms of, house value, where do we sit now compared to the rest of the country?
Well, by and large, if you look at that overall all-in average that we were just talking about, the 187,000 or so in the first quarter this year, that's still within the sort of the what you might call the best value 5 locations, which are all sort of concentrated in the same part of the country. And the cheapest county in Ireland is Leitrim, where average prices are €165,000 at the moment. And between Leitrim and Donegal, in terms of the average price, are Roscommon and Sligo. And then around the same price point as Donegal are Mayo and Cavan. They're all sort of, Donegal, Mayo and Cavan are all about 190,000. Now, what's interesting is that if you look at all, there's 6 counties that I've named there, and the 7th, I guess, is Longford, which is around about the same. But all of those counties have seen some of the biggest increases in prices over the last 12 to 18 months. And I think that you can't pretend that that's not COVID. It's definitely COVID having an impact on where people are looking to buy their home.
So that's really was the next question. So we have, especially I suppose when you compare it to urban areas, there's more demand, is there? It's not like, in other words, we don't have houses available. There's more demand. People are looking to either return to or move to the likes of Donegal with remote work options that might be there. Is that what's driving these increases?
Exactly, and there's strong demand, and there's pretty tight supply as well. So that Donegal increase year on year, it's €187,000 now. It was only about 150,000 a year ago. So it's an increase of €33,000 in a year, which is a much bigger increase than we're seeing elsewhere. And that does tell us something about the supply demand imbalance, if you want to put it that way. To put a different type of number on it, one way of looking at things is to see, well, how many properties are available online to buy at any particular point in time. And if you look at 2019, sort of pre-COVID, on average, across Connacht Ulster, there would have been about 1,800 or 1,900 properties available to buy at any particular point in time. That number now is below 600. So there's yes, new supply has come on stream, but demand has just been so much stronger that number has just gone further and further down, especially over the last 18 months.
And we'll fill out the census forms on April the 3rd. It'll probably show again maybe 10 to 13,000 vacant houses in Donegal. Is that because, the fact that maybe many of them are holiday homes, or people are renting out second properties through Airbnb or whatever it might be, they're preferring to hold on to their homes rather than not free them up for the market, but offer them on the market? Is that a factor?
Yeah, and in fairness to the people in the census office, that they do, especially in the last census, because this was such an issue over the last few years, they are asking why, if a property is empty, they'll ask the neighbours, what's happening in the property next door? Is it a holiday home? And they'll try and find out. And in a place like Donegal, a lot of the empty properties that'll be empty on census night will be empty because they're holiday homes. It'll vary, within the county. Obviously, some bits are more holiday homes than others. What we don't really have in this country, and unfortunately, given the situation we find ourselves in, is we don't have what you might call, not quite shovel ready, but maybe door ready properties that we can just move into. That's not really the situation. We've in cities, we have older properties that will require quite a bit of work to get back into usage, and often they're quite small in terms of cities and towns. The older homes are smaller than people want now.
So we should get some indication whether it's dereliction versus just choice, whether it's obviously people are making comparisons between house prices now, right, and the just before really the recession. Is it, what we're seeing at the moment, is it linked to the economy generally, is it any indicator as to, maybe a recession's on the way, or does this stand separate from it and we're only making that comparison because of, that's when it happened? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural thing, and I myself, I'm looking at the different markets, and I'm saying, where are prices now compared to the peak in 2007? And in some places, if, for example, in Waterford, Limerick City, prices are now within 10% of their peak at the Celtic Tiger. In Donegal, just for reference, they're about 30% below the 2007 peak. But the circumstances are different. There's a worry, that we might just be fighting the last war. That what happened in the early mid-2000s was a credit bubble, and that pushed up prices way above their fundamental value at a time when lots of new supply was getting added on. So if you think of supply and real demand fighting it out, and then credit just came along and pushed up prices. Now we have no additional supply, or very little additional supply over the last 10 years. And lots of extra demand over the last 10 years. So in other words,
it was cash availability maybe that drove prices in 2007, and now it's supply versus demand, maybe more so.
Exactly, and maybe the easiest way of seeing that is rents were actually falling in the early 2000s while prices were rising, because housing was reasonably abundant. Rents have been rising even more than sale prices, so it's quite a different proposition this time around. Okay,
and very finally, Ronan, I'm sure you're in great demand this morning. Is it a worry that prices are increasing slowly in the likes of Dublin, or what does it matter, or what's the situation there?
I mean, Dublin in particular, and the cities in general, are amongst our most expensive markets. I mean, Dublin is the most expensive market in the country, and it has its own markets within it. Really, what the issue there, in some ways, COVID has come as a bit of relief in being able to take some of the demand and spread it to elsewhere. I suppose I would worry a little bit about complacency, that a politician might look at that and go, that's great, we don't need new housing in the cities because people will just live across all the constituencies of Ireland looking at the next election. But that's not really the way it's going to work. We still need homes built in the cities as well as homes built elsewhere.
Yeah, okay, listen, interesting as always, Ronan. Thank you very much for your time. We look forward to that additional information coming out next week. That's Ronan Lyons, economist at Trinity College Dublin and author of the report with daft.ie. So to explain, the 132,000 price being listed in the Irish Independent is for your average 3-bed, whilst the daft.ie, which is up around the 187,000 mark, that is across the board, all houses, from 1-beds to 10-bed mansions, and averaging it out.
The 9 till Noon Show, brought to you by Kelly's Toyota. Test drive Toyota's incredible self-charging hybrid range at our showroom, Port Road, Letterkenny.
Hpv Cervical Screening is free to all women aged 25 to 65. It's the best way to reduce your risk of developing cervical cancer in the future. Women over 50 are less likely to attend screening, but you're still at risk, so it's important to attend your appointment when you're invited. To check you're on the register, visit hse.ie/cervical check or free phone 1-800 45 45 55 from the HSE.
This summer, holidays are go with Jet2 Holidays and Atlantic Travel. So go explore your sunny favourites with hundreds of free child places available. Ask the experts at Atlantic Travel about your next Jet2 holiday by calling 074 912 6193. And book now with just a £60 deposit per person. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. Subject to availability and conditions.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open 7:30, eyes down 8:30 sharp. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €5,100 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Why wait any longer for a change of scene? Why wait one more week for a world-class cocktail in a rooftop hot tub? Why wait another day for Art Deco elegance and live jazz? For a spa resort with a therapy menu as long as your arm? For dinner at a Michelin Guide recommended restaurant? Why put your next short break on the long finger when it's just a small step to a giant adventure in Northern Ireland? And you can book it now at discovernorthernireland.com. Travel advice and guidelines apply. Visit nidirect.gov.uk.
and check ahead with providers.
All right, we've got some live music coming up for you before 11, but delighted to welcome in studio now our next guest, who is not going to sing, unfortunately, for us, Rosa Glacken from the Northwest Regional, the Northwest Regional President of St. Vincent de Paul. Rosa, how are you keeping?
I'm very well, thanks, Greg. Good morning to your listeners.
It's great to see you again.
Thank you.
Right, I mean, obviously what we're talking about, and we're all feeling the pressures, the squeeze, discretionary spending, food versus fuel. But you're right there at the coalface. Have you seen a worsening in people's situation, Rosa?
Absolutely. As you say, it's food or fuel. I think one of the most important things that people forget is Donegal has a huge rural community who are dependent on cars to get either to their place of work, in some cases to bring children to school, to do their food shopping, get to banks, post offices. They have to have a car. And, of course, the cost of the fuel rising day by day.
Yeah, and, of course, like you could go to get your NCT done. They could come back and say, look, there's a fault here. It could be €300 or €400 to repair, spring or shocks or whatever it might be. People are having to decide to put the car off the road because they simply could not afford that one-off big bill to get around.
Yeah, we're having people coming with all sorts of varied problems like that, Greg, and we do our best to help in all situations. But I have heard of people where they had put fuel in the car and hadn't enough, to bring children to school, where they missed a day or two. And I think that's tragic altogether. Or the alternative, as you say, to cut back on the food, and then you worry about the nourishment for the family.
It's the quality of food that they might be eating.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. And, we are getting calls from people, many people now, a huge increase in the number of calls, completely stressed, as they should be, or would be, with this rising cost in the cost of living. And also with bills coming in, electricity, we all know the energy bills are rising also. And even though there is a subsidy in place for the moment, bills still have to be paid, and they're rising all the time.
And this rising cost, it's casting a big net, isn't
Indeed,
it? It's those on the lowest of incomes, but it's those maybe on greater incomes, but maybe with more children or college-going children, that were literally just scraping by, and every increase drags them down further.
Yes, it's throwing the household budget out the window, really, because, as you say, it's leaving people with very stark choices and causing enormous stress.
Just as it relates to the transport side of things, I mean, as you mentioned, many of us live in rural Donegal, and we're being priced out of the cars, be it through taxation or through increases. But there's no alternatives. There's no alternatives for the hospital visit. There's no alternatives to go to a local office or to shop. And quite interestingly, I think you've used this as an opportunity to say, look, we need to look at rural transport. What's going on here?
Absolutely. It's something I've always been talking about. We're very, very poorly served in rural areas. And as I say, people have to travel such a distance for the basics. And you mentioned hospitals there. Many times we get calls from people who have to go to Galway or Dublin. Quite often their appointments are very early in the morning, so they have to go the night before and somebody with them and stay in accommodation. And, this is a huge stress in a family where there might be a serious illness. So, again, we're very sympathetic in these situations.
And in terms of, your resources to support people, Rosa, I mean, the general population continue to be generous, do they?
Completely. The Irish people are amazingly generous, in Donegal in particular. And don't forget, we have our shops, which is a major source of income for us. And people continue to support our shops, both with goods and their custom. And we're delighted about that as well. So the message we're getting out, Greg, is that we're here. We're ready to help. We're very anxious to help people and asking people to make that first call, which is not an easy one. And we're also delighted we're back face to face, able to visit people again and form those friendships that we have done before.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, and it goes in cycles. And we're back talking about people who may never in the past have felt that they would ever need to reach out to the likes of St. Vincent de Paul for assistance, to say,
correct.
There's no... there's no shame in it. There's no weakness in it.
None.
This is what this organisation is for. And when you get back on your feet, well, then you can maybe contribute and help others, isn't it? That's what it's all about.
And it's confidential. That's the big word that we would use. Everything is confidential, and we treat people with dignity and respect. And when you say about people getting back on their feet, can I just also mention we're in the middle of a recruitment campaign. We're driving a big campaign to recruit new members. So we're very anxious that people, who may have time now for one reason or another, may like to become a member of a local conference, or maybe like to volunteer in one of our shops or help out in our housing, or even if they haven't the time for that, maybe to help with our church gate collection. But we're very anxious. And as I said earlier, rural areas in particular, we're very low in members, particularly since the pandemic, where maybe older members feel they're no longer able to do that work. So we would appeal to people if they feel they have that time and so feel that they could contribute their time. We would be delighted to hear from them.
Excellent. And as I said before, we don't all have money to help other people, but you can help other people with your time, and that's very useful too. Rosa, what kind of assistance can you offer people through St. Vincent de Paul?
Well, it's always what we have done, Greg, is food and fuel. So from the fuel point of view, we might get coal delivered, in some cases heating oil, but that's very iffy at the moment with the cost, and vouchers for their local stores so people can go and buy their own groceries and so on. And as I say, assistance maybe with somebody travelling with serious illness. And as always with education, we do help students and support students because rents are rising and so on, and their costs are pretty significant also.
Yeah, all right. So the message ringing out today again as well too, as well as for volunteers for St. Vincent de Paul and to support St. Vincent de Paul, is to our elected representatives. We need to make rural transport, its improvement, an absolute priority. This is the difference between, I'm not going to say life and death. It could be as stark as that, but being able to live and get around and not being able to do that, Rose. I mean,
that is a serious consideration. I've always said that. And in smaller villages now, post offices have closed, Garda stations have closed, people have to travel. So, as you say, we do need that infrastructure, and I think we have been sorely neglected in that field.
If people want to support St. Vincent de Paul, if the churchgoers, if they see some collecting, give as generously as you can there. Support the shops, which you say is very important, either donating or purchasing stuff from there.
Yes.
I presume they can go to your website if they want to contribute as well.
Going to the website, yes, directly, or if they wish, drop something into the local shop. Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, our elected representatives can try and ease the burden, as I say, fuel versus food. Let's get proper rural transport out there and give us the option who maybe want to cut down our carbon footprint as well. It's not always a financial decision. Everything's moving in that direction. That's what we should be doing.
Yes.
Rose, anything you want to add before we wrap things up?
Again, to thank people for their support, but also to encourage anybody sitting at home stressed and worried to make that call to us. Yeah.
It's a lot of work for you, Rosa.
Our volunteers are very busy, but they're very generous with their time and commitment.
Okay.
Yes.
Listen, thanks for your time
Thank
this
you
morning and your
me,
ongoing
Greg.
commitment as well. I really appreciate it.
Thanks to your listeners.
Okay, Rosa Glacken there. 086 60 25,000. Your WhatsApps and texts to that number. Give us a call on 07491 25,000. All right, stay with us. More on the way.
The 9 till Noon Show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota. With over 45 years of experience, trust us to help you on your electric journey.
If you're starting a new business in 2022, call into BizPrint today and get sorted. Logo design, invoice books, business cards, and all your printing needs. Call BizPrint at Port Road, Letterkenny on 9177955 or visit bizprint.ie.
This year in Home Store and More, we've more for your garden than ever before. We've a great range of garden furniture, rattan corner sets, dinner sets, gazebos and much more. We've barbecues, gas, charcoal or smoker, all 33% off. Be warm and cosy with our selection of outdoor heating, also 33% off. And enjoy those longer evenings with our range of solar lights and garden decor. Visit us in store or shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Make your garden your sanctuary. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Let's call out his name.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, April 23rd. Tickets at the theatre box office. That's Mike Denver in concert at the Millennium Forum with Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine on Saturday, April 23rd.
Lingering sunsets in Spain, captivating coastlines in Croatia, dinner overlooking Lake Como. It's time to stop dreaming and start doing. Let us guide you to your dream destination. Just show up, suitcase in hand, and we'll take care of everything. Flights, accommodation, excursions, expert local guides, and all that planning. Secure your spot now on a guided group tour with deposits from €100. See traveldepartment.com. Irish owned and operated for over 25 years. Travel Department. Let's see more.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. This summer is going to be one of the busiest ever. Check out our summer flights to European cities such as Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, let's look at the weather then. A dry morning with good sunny spells. A few showers might break out in the afternoon and evening. Temperatures 13 to 16 degrees. Coolest along, the further east you go in light easterly or variable breezes. You're very welcome back to the programme, of course. I want to welcome into studio now Cormac Friel. Good morning to you, Cormac. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Greg. Nice to be here.
It's good to have you with us. Right, you and your wife, Kelly, were recently down at a Late Late Show performance, and you were moved by, so moved by it that you've decided to, perform a song, write a song. You wrote the song, did you?
That's right.
All right, tell us about that experience. It was the night Charlie Bird was on.
That's right. It was back in December, and so Kelly, my wife, managed to get us tickets for the Late Late. And listen, it was a great night, and Charlie Bird was a guest. And listen, I suppose anybody who's seen it that night, I think was moved by, the vulnerability that he showed. I suppose when somebody's gone through something as difficult as that, it must be so hard to actually, speak out to the whole nation about the struggles you're going through. And I think, the fact that he was so, his empathy for other people was really the thing that it hit home, I think, for people. The fact that he's gone through such a struggle, but he still was advocating for other people who are.
And a lot of the time, something like that there, what we would do, and it's understandable too, because everyone has to make their own choices. You shut up shop, you lock your doors, you sort of, deal with it with your family. But he used the opportunity to speak publicly. And I would say for everyone involved in that were surprised at how it impacted so many people at the same time. It was unbelievable, climbs and walks being organised all over the country. It really resonated with people, didn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It just reverberated out after the interview was shared online. And I suppose, I think it showed a bit of depth as well to the man that, we would have known from as a newscaster and journalist. I think one thing that really hit me as well, so aside from obviously everyone knows he has a motor neuron diagnosis, and it was very obvious from his voice that it was already having an impact on his function, and it's a deteriorating condition, so, that was impactful enough. But then the other layer to it was the fact that there was a man in the audience that the man actually credited Charlie with saving his life, and that was through this guy, when he was a young man, bumped into Charlie by coincidence at a hotel in Dublin, and Charlie was at work, but he took some time out of his day to speak to this guy, and he realised pretty quickly this man was in a dark place, and he spoke to him, spent some time with him, and that man now credits Charlie Bird with actually stopping him from going through with whatever he was.
Which is amazing impact to have on people. So you have, how long have you been singing, songwriting?
Yeah, so I suppose I've always played music, but it's mostly been actually in the background. So I've been a drummer in a few cover bands since I was a teenager, and it's only in more recent years I've started, I suppose, looking more inwards and doing a little bit of songwriting. And it's not something I've actually done very publicly. So a lot of people who know me don't know me in this light. But it's something I suppose I have a bank of.
But in a way, do you think, I'm not sure when it started, you may be stepping out from behind the drum kit and putting yourself out there a bit more with your songwriting, because it's really quite personal. In some way, did you get some inspiration for what Charlie Bird was doing? You talked earlier on about the fact that, he's putting himself out there. In a way, you're doing that too. I mean, obviously in a completely different scale, and it's through art, but, you take some encouragement from that. That's the type of impact he has in all areas of life, I think.
Of course, if somebody can go out publicly like that from such a tough place, I think there's a lot of us who have talents and have passions, but we don't actually show them to the world. And it's something we keep. And look, maybe that suits some people. I feel like, I suppose when I have this, I suppose I used songwriting as well as a way of processing things, and that was what this initially was. A few days after we were at the Late and everything else, I just penned a few words, and it wasn't initially a song. It was just, I suppose, me more trying to come to an understanding of what I had seen and heard, and then I suppose it later turned into a song, and I suppose that was a real natural way that it progressed. Then I suppose it was only really a couple of weeks ago when Kelly convinced me to actually record it. And she said, listen, the walks are coming up on the 2nd of April. So many people in the country are getting behind this. You need to put this out and at least get it to Charlie Bird himself. And I was delighted to be able to do that, to actually send it through to Charlie last week. And then he subsequently replied with a lovely email thanking for the song. And he was so grateful for it, and there was as much as emotion can be in an email, it was in an email.
Yeah, and you got the endorsement from the person that inspired you to write the song.
Exactly.
Right, so what's the song called? You're going to play it for us now, are you?
Yes, it's called Every Bird.
All right, do you want to grab your guitar?
Yes, indeed.
It's called Early Bird.
Every Bird.
Every Bird, okay. Right. Take it away then. So this is Cole McFriel and his song Early Bird, written after he saw firsthand Charlie Bird's interview on The Late Late Show. Whenever you're ready.
What can you say when a man begins to cry? What can you say when a bird begins to fly? What can you say when everyone knows his voice? What can you say when fate removes choice? Love one another and take care of the ill. Speak to a stranger if they aren't fulfilled. Keep moving forward as you reach for the sky, and know every bird needs to fly. The higher the mountain, the more strength you gain. The mark that is left on all that remains. One step at a time to the top of the hill. One step back in time, one memory, one thrill. When you're standing on top of all you've created, looking back down on places vacated. Carved out forever is your place in their hearts. Even if you're not present, you're never apart. Love one another and take care of the ill. Speak to a stranger if they aren't fulfilled. Keep moving forward as you reach for the sky, and know every bird needs to fly. I know every bird needs to fly. Shoulder to shoulder, man, woman and child, our thoughts and prayers and our love all compiled. Bravery, honesty and an open door, a message to the nation that strikes to the core. Love one another and take care of the ill. Speak to a stranger if they aren't fulfilled. Keep moving forward as you reach for the sky. I know every bird needs to fly. I know every bird needs to fly. I know every bird will fly.
Well done, Cormac. That was lovely.
Thank you very much.
Not easy to do, and you did it fantastic. I appreciate it. Are you releasing it, or are you just putting it out there, or what's the story?
Yeah, I suppose, look, it's really supposed to just create a little bit of general awareness of everything that's going on. The walks are taking place this Saturday, the 2nd of April, and I suppose there's loads of them happening. There's at least 20 in Donegal, and many more all around the country. And if you log on to climewithcharlie.ie, there you can find, there's a map of the whole country and all the walks that are taking place there, and you can find details of them. You can also donate. So listen, people are raising money all over the country for 2 charities, the Irish Motor Neuron Disease Association and Pieta House. So listen, it would be great if people can take part on Saturday, find a local walk, and if they could pledge some donation as well, that would be fantastic.
Well done, Cormac. You did great. Cormac Friel there. Thank you very much indeed.
Appreciate it.
Okay, you are tuned to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Another hour to come on the programme. Stay right where you are. It's time for a news update, and it's over to and good morning to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. 50 new jobs are to be created in the Colab facility on the Letterkenny IT campus over the next 18 months. Zinkworks, an Athlone-based telecommunications and financial services company, is establishing a software engineering hub supported by IDA. The regional manager of IDA Northwest says it's a particularly important announcement in the week that Letterkenny IT is preparing to transition into full technological university status. 2.32 million has been confirmed in funding for housing adaptation grants for older people and people with disabilities in Donegal. 80% of the money coming from government, with matching funding from Donegal County Council. It's an increase of €566,000 on last year's figure. The HSE got over €5 million in car parking charges at public hospitals last year. According to Freedom of Information files, the average was €244,000 per hospital. 21 hospital car parks are covered in the figures. No figures are available for the hospitals in Letterkenny or Sligo. The largest amount received in any one hospital was €1.25 million in Cork, followed by €657,000 in Galway. The average price of a house in Donegal is now €188,000, according to daft.ie. That's 65% above its lowest point. In the first quarter of the year, between January and the end of March, prices in the county were 22% higher than they were a year previously. In 2021, the rise over the same period the year before was 3%. Gardaí are warning business premises in Donegal, which would stock large amounts of cigarettes, that the last number of days has seen a number of break-ins in such premises across the country, particularly in western counties. Crime Prevention Officer Sergeant Paul Wallace says there is clearly a well-informed and prepared organised gang operating, and when this has happened in the past, Donegal has been targeted. He is urging such businesses to be aware of the danger and to review their security. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Okay, Donald, thank you very much indeed. We're back with more on the programme after the break.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota. Test drive Toyota's incredible self-charging hybrid range at our showroom, Port Road, Letterkenny.
There's never been a better time to switch to Electric Ireland. We're offering all new customers a €265 welcome bonus with our 2-year deal. All you have to do is call 1-800 30 50 90 or visit electricireland.ie. For your welcome bonus, switch today. Electric Ireland. We're brighter together. Estimated annual bill €2,019. Electricity and gas discounted unit rate including standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax. 24-month contract. T's and C's apply. See electricireland.ie.
Wet n Wild is your one-stop shop for outdoor clothing, footwear and equipment to enjoy the Donegal outdoors and adventure travel abroad. Wet n Wild stock all the leading outdoor brands of rainwear, waterproof footwear, sandals, tents, cooler boxes, flasks, insect repellents, swimwear, merino socks and sunglasses, and are fully stocked for the summer season right now.
In the darkest times, we can struggle to find the brightness. But during Darkness into Light, every person has the power to be a light against the dark. Every alarm set, every step taken, every sunrise shared helps support those impacted by suicide and raises vital funds for Pieta's life-saving work. So please join Pieta and Electric Ireland for Darkness into Light on Saturday, May 7th. Sign up now at darknessintolight.ie because everyone who runs, walks and watches the sun rise shows we're brighter together. Proudly supported by Electric Ireland.
Donegal Hearing Clinic, now open at Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Buncrana, now offering state-of-the-art rechargeable hearing aids free with your PRSI. Also pain-free microsuction wax removal services. Call 07491 88470 or donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic.
Mum, why do they call it Scottish cheese?
It's cottage cheese, honey, and I'm not sure.
Do dogs in other countries speak different languages?
Yeah, I think so.
When will we get there?
Well, we've got to fix the car first, but there's someone coming to help us.
Is it the man from Geneva?
Not Geneva. He's from Aviva. Oh, there's the van now.
For car insurance with breakdown rescue, it takes Aviva. Visit aviva.ie to save 15%.
Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Minimum premium of €310. 15% discount applies to new policies bought online. See aviva.ie for details. Car insurance is underwritten by Aviva Insurance Ireland DAC. Aviva Direct Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio, and we're previewing another show here on Highland Radio. It's the DL Debate, available for you to podcast a little later on, but also for you to listen after the 7 o'clock news. And lots to talk about yesterday. Survival Sunday, it was being labelled as. Donegal survived. Brendan, your assessment of how they survived?
Yeah, funny, the way we look at the league, it was called Survival Sunday. There's no word of anybody winning the league or who's getting in the final. And it tells you a lot about our Allianz League, particularly the top flight. Everybody wants to be in it. I don't really think that many teams are worried about
winning it. Yeah,
exactly. So Survival Sunday it was, coming right down the wire. In the last day, like 5 teams could get into a league final and 5 teams could be relegated, which just shows you the tight nature of it. And
so what happened yesterday in terms of how the teams lined out, right? Because we're looking forward to the championship, right? And as excited as we got about the league, the championship's the championship. Armagh going to face Donegal in the championship. So in terms of how the teams lined out and the approach to that game, how did both managers go into that game? Like, were they trying to not give too much away in the championship? Was it all about winning that game? Tell us.
Armagh could afford to rest. They were safe and they didn't want to be in a league final, so it was a very strange position for them. Gaelic's a funny thing. Like, you can't really put the handbrake on too much because it's all about up, and if you drop it at any stage, it can create a funny mentality. That said, Armagh rested 3 of their better players. Just they were named in the programme and they didn't start, which told everybody in the ground that they wanted to, I suppose, give Donegal a game. Maybe not necessarily win it, but not get into a league final. But still they're playing in 4 weeks' time, and they wanted to put up a bit of a game. But what happened in the second half was when they put on those players, they really went at Donegal, pushed up in the kick out, And then the game was there to be won. I mean, Armagh should have stole it at the end. They had two gilt-edged chances to hit the winner. I was very surprised at that now, because it could have catapulted them into a final in 2 weeks' time with Kerry. And I just couldn't see how the mindset would be. But there was a huge Armagh crowd there. Unbelievable occasion there. You stood Letterkenny.
Yeah, it was great to see.
It was packed, so I think the crowd was affecting that. You've seen a bit of a row after and that. So the passion kind of came through in the players. They started to kick into gear, and they had Donegal in the rack. I'm surprised we ended up winning the game. Which
was the missed penalty at all crucial in that? Because, as I say, you saw it, I was listening, the game seemed to turn from that perspective.
Yeah, it did. And even at that point, you wouldn't have thought that it was going to be still at a 3-point cushion, I think, at that stage, and it would have kind of maybe 3 or 4 and would have put us in the position where you definitely would have won the match. But when he missed it, you didn't think that much about it, other than that's a third penalty in a row we've missed, 2 from Michael and 1 from McBurdy against Mayo at the start of the season. Of course, the famous one against Tyrone last year, which, penalties are by and large being converted mainly at the minute, so that's probably something as a bit of an issue going into it. But
well, are you going to tell Michael he's not taking penalties? Because I'm not.
No, listen, and Michael, we trust Tyrone. Listen, they obviously had an outfield player in nets, and I think if Michael had put it the way he normally does, it would have been over and out. But no, I think he'll get that right. I mean, he was unlucky against Tyrone. He hit the post, but the game that hints in that. But Armagh seemed to get a bit of belief from that, Greg, and then they had a goal chance right after it, which really would have put us on the back foot.
Wide.
So, a lot of questions to be asked. Now, Armagh did show their hand in many ways, and how they're playing and how their players are operating.
So did Donegal change, first and second half, or did Armagh change? Because there was very few, I think, 2 or 3 wides in the first half, almost scoring for fun. Second half, the wides started to creep in. Obviously, as you say, Armagh changed their approach to the game, brought on, the stars of the team. So, which Donegal is going into the championship, if you know what I mean? Should we have been able to adapt a little bit more in the second half, for example?
Well,
because Armagh obviously can mid-game, can switch it up. Yeah. Do we have that capability?
We have, if we have a full team there. We had a few players missing yesterday, vital players around the midfield and that. Now, Langan was back, was brilliant to see him, and it was no coincidence he was involved in that winning score at the end, because certain players in our team dictate a lot of stuff that we do, particularly Michael and Patrick and Langan yesterday. That's huge, So the players, if we have a full squad back, Greg, is going to be vital for us, because we need those extra couple of players around the middle, particularly like big Keelan McGonagall's been doing well for us, and Thompson as well is out injured, and the likes of Yosh and Gallen, if we could get him back. Jamie Brennan's only coming back from injury. All of them are going to have to be at their best to beat this Armagh team, because they've been flying in the league, and they showed yesterday when they put it up to us that they squeezed up their kick out. We were struggling, and there's a couple of aspects of the game, particularly on the kick out. We looked a bit panicked, and they kind of had our number, which is that short kick out, and Sean Padden's brilliant at it. But when they squeezed up, we had to go long. When we went long, there was extra Armagh numbers there. We need to sort that out. The other big thing we need to sort out is defenders being in forward positions, and our forwards being in behind them. We've really got our positions badly mixed up at the minute. And our top players, our flair players, the likes of Pat Morgans and Ryan McCuisney, seem to be back behind our defence at times. And then our cornerbacks and our halfbacks are up the pitch. And when they get into a certain position, there's nothing coming back.
Is that happening on the day that players are drifting out of position, or is that tactical?
It's, I suppose, because of the nature of the game, players are back and forward.
They're being pulled.
But we seem to have then our defensive players in right up in corner forward at times, and they're no, when they get it, then our Mabos are almost backing off them. So we need to get our right. And
that means covering an awful lot of grass over the course of a full match.
We've got the likes of, as I say, Mogan and McEwen coming back, taking the ball off Patton. So they're in that very first phase. So when it gets up to where they need to be, we end up with a defender or half back on the end of the move, which is something we need to sort out radically, because we have good players, Greg. Our issues in our defence, we need to keep our defenders back and release our talented boys forward.
So with players coming back into Donegal, with Armagh showing what they have when they put the team out, it's going to be another maybe high scoring tight game in 4 weeks. Who's going into that game as favourites?
Well, after the wee bit of rough.
Well, I want to talk about that. What is the consequences of that? Because you talk about how everyone, people maybe had an eye in the championship, and there could be players suspended off the back of that, couldn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, for all we've talked about, for all the build-up, for all the trying this, that and the other in leagues, for all of looking to try and get players back for the championship, if this game is is damaged from a spectator's point of view by players getting suspended or punished in whatever way it might be for that row at the end of the game. It's crazy.
Yeah. The atmosphere yesterday, and I think just McGeeney's mantra always with the teams he's coached is, you're not going to push us about. And when you have a situation where you're not going to push us or enforce us, and then Donegal respond to that, or vice versa, whoever started it, Greg, you're into a funny scenario, and then everybody comes all in now. It's the kind of scene the GAA are mad keen to stamp out, and they've been very forceful around people joining Malays or getting stuck in. So if it's main players, it could be the decision that decides the game. Because as I said, there's a couple of players in our team that really orchestrate a lot that we do. If we're missing one or two of them, it's advantage in Armagh or vice versa. So it remains to be seen what action will be taken.
What are the significance of the likes of a lot of Leinster clubs slipped down a division. I'm not sure how that was approached on the Sunday game. I don't know if you watched that. I don't watch it, but I was hearing back that
you're in bed at that stage.
Well, it's not that. It's just you know what I would like to see. The sports coverage in this country, Brendan, is to actually not be about the personalities of the pundits trying to wind up the audience, crapping all over Ulster football just for the crack. Focusing on the handbags rather than the actual game. Distraction, crap, trying to get some traction, trying to be controversial, because I know they've sent out there to say, right, what are we going to row about today? We need to wind up. So I'm not even engaging that. I'd prefer to listen to someone like yourself or your guests where you actually know the game, you've played it recently, and you talk about what happened on the pitch. So that's why. Also, I was in bed.
Yeah. You've probably got a big 7-inch plasma in there, though.
No, plasma. What age are you? I thought you were into your tech. Plasma. Come on.
My apologies.
Anyway, so did you watch it last night? And how was the?
Greg, I'm a bit like that, and I don't mean I'm straight up. I don't really listen too much to the punditry. I like to get an idea. I mean, fascinating games. High scored. I mean, Monaghan's 3-13, Dublin 1-18, and then Mayo 2-20, Kildare 18, and even the Kerry Tyrone match, big score. Ours was the lowest of those games. So there was a lot going on in those matches, which is probably positive looking at the game going forward with scores and that. But as for Sunday games, I'm more lucky to get the highlights of it just to see what's happening. The reaction to it, Greg, I'm not that worried about it.
You want to see the images, you're not too interested in the waffle.
Make my own mind of it. But as you said, see the guys that would talk to there, the likes of Aaron Kiernan coming on the show, Mark McHugh and that yesterday. There's much more of a real talk, Alan Foley. It's more of a real talk, and you're right. I would get that with Sunday game. There is a bit of an element of particularly with the likes of Pat Spillane and guys like he's about sparking things up. And of course they kicked Brawley out because he was saying they were giving him notes to say. They were telling him kind of the basis of what to say, and he wouldn't have that. Well, that's his reason, and he said that's why he walked away.
I think it should be about the players, the managers, the performance. The pundits should be. I mean, obviously it has to be somewhat entertaining, but they should not be the show. And we're still seeing that too with the live games, and people want to tune into it. I know some people do, but it's not actually. I want to see a breakdown, an analysis. I want people to sort of, say what's happening on the pitch in different zones, not just sort of
the differences. I think
antagonistic
if
rubbish.
You look at soccer, there's so many highlight shows or versions of it that the Sunday games kind of just only one, and it's kind of been unchecked in that, in terms of there hasn't been a rival show yet. So.
Right, okay, well listen, there'll be no waffle from Mark McHugh, Aaron Kieran. You mentioned Alan Foley's on the show, but it's not just about the football at the weekend. There's an awful lot to get through on the DL debate this week.
Yeah, we're going to round up everything in the league. As I say, Alan, after the match yesterday, he was doing his stuff, getting ready for his Democrat output, so I interviewed him there, and the same as Mark McHugh just after the game. So I'm going to speak to Aaron Kiernan this evening, and we have feedback from Mickey McCann as well. Donegal coming up just short by a point against Sligo in the Hurling League semi-final, but that's fine too, because Division 2B has been somewhere that Donegal haven't been able to mix it and stay in quite often, and now they're very much stabilised. I mean, they're one game from a league final, which could potentially put you into the next 2A, and that's a big jump up there again. I think Mickey himself is happy to be in 2B.
I think you can go up too quick, can you? You can, as you say, get stability and be confident in your place in a certain league, and then look to move forward.
Yeah,
because the fall can be very quick from, and then you're in against a completely different class of counties again.
And see, with hurling in particular, they're just as such a skillful, speedy side that you're right. You need to build up. football sometimes, Greg, you can contain teams. You can see lesser teams contain teams. You can't do that in hurling. That's why I think Mickey's happy now to be stabilised and solid in 2B and looking forward to the championship.
2B or not 2B? That's the question.
So we're back to Punch and Judy here.
Right, okay. So the DL debate, Brennan's up working on it now. It's read up. It'll be available as a podcast later. It's broadcast then after the 7 p.m. news this evening. So whether you want to listen it scheduled or if you're out for a walk or a run this evening while the weather's good, you can listen to that as well. The guests are Brendan, of course, Mark, well, he's not a guest, he's a presenter, Mark McHugh, Aaron Kieran, and also Alan Foley. And who's to say what else might turn up? Listen, Brendan, well done. Thanks very much as always.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care of yourself. Right, Brendan Devaney there, presenter of the DL debate. Greg, there was a bit of argy-bargy at the end of the Donegal game yesterday. It was nothing too serious, but probably not a great example for wee Johnny and Mary, who'd have been at the game or watching on TV. I'd say a fair few players and both managers could be a bit nervous now about any action, if any, that might be taken by the powers that be. Armagh might be more nervous as they already had a brawl with Tyrone back in February. Anything to that, Brendan, before I let you go?
Yeah, certainly. I was at that game actually. Again, like, once it kicked off, it was Tyrone who got the 4 sent off, and was a big hamper to them in the next match. They were missing those guys. So yeah, there is a bit of form there. It's an Ulster thing. There's needle there, Greg, and it comes back to not taking a step back.
But if you're on the Donegal panel now, you want to play the best Armagh team, though. You don't want to see players suspended for that game, do you? Or do you? Is it about getting? Is it about?
You might admit it, but if the like of Big O'Neill, who came on yesterday, by he is some player. Like, I mean, he hits the ball over from 40 or 45 yards. Like most players would do it from about 20.
Yeah,
he's just got something about him, So I wouldn't mind now if he happened to miss the game. I'll be honest with you.
All right, listen, good stuff. All right, we'll be back with more after the break.
The 9 till Noon Show, brought to you by Kelly's Toyota. With over 45 years of experience, trust us to help you on your electric journey.
Aldi has everything to make this Easter extra special. Medium Cadbury cream eggs, buttons, Kit Kat and Smarties eggs, just $1.65 each. That's 3 for under €5. Large Cadbury Twirl, Whisper and Maltesers eggs, just $3.99 each. And treat the kids with Easter egg hunt favourites from just 79 cents. Visit Aldi or click and collect. So on your marks, egg set, go. Aldi, the home of an amazing Easter. See aldi.ie for terms and available stores. Charges apply.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go.
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money.
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till Noon Show.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
On the night of April 3rd, we'll all come together to fill out our census forms. And the information you provide will help show where essential services are needed in every part of the country. So on Sunday, April 3rd, be a part of Ireland's future. Be counted. Visit census.ie to find out more.
Take It to the Limit is a celebration of the Eagles by Johnny Brady, Simon Casey, Nigel Connell and the Sheeran family. You can hear Take It to the Limit for one night only at the Millennium Forum Derry on April 14th. That's Johnny Brady, Simon Casey, Nigel Connell and the Sheeran family band as they perform Take It to the Limit, a celebration of the Eagles on Easter Sunday, April 14th. Tickets are £28 now on sale in the theatre box office or online from millenniumforum.co.uk.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show. Now, our Monday focus is on a new legal information clinic, or bringing you information about a legal information clinic. We are joined in studio now by two guests. First of all, Mary Maguire, manager of the Donegal Women's Centre. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for having me up this morning.
It's good to have you with us. And Dr. Brona Hetherin, law lecturer at LYIT. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Again, delighted to be here, Greg. Thanks.
Okay, right. Tell us about this new legal... Is it new? It is it's a new public legal information clinic. It's opening at the Donegal Women's Centre. Do you want to set it up for us first, Mary?
Yeah, sure. Last year, I think there was a funding call for a community funding call coming from the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth, and it was focusing on the LGBT community. And I think throughout our work with LGBT community, we saw there was a gap in information, in access to legal information, and just there had been a lot of changes, and how we were going to address the gaps in information sharing, information giving. We collaborated with the law department in the LYIT and submitted our funding, and we were absolutely delighted to receive over 62,000. We were one of the fourth highest in the country. So it's a massive project. We're delighted it's coming to Donegal, and it's being showcased, I suppose, the work that that we can do, the street legal clinic can provide to anybody who identifies with the LGBT community.
Yeah, Brona, can you tell us what gaps might be there? You know, what areas, say, for instance, that members of the LGBTI plus community, what information gaps that they can fill with engaging with this initiative?
I suppose the first thing is to be clear that that question is not clear in the sense that what we want to do is get them to tell us where the gaps in knowledge are. Legal rights can be really complex, both through ignorance of them and then accessibility to them. So it's really opening the door. A lot of their rights and information are the same as other groups, but they don't appreciate that. So it's really trying to, I suppose, the objective of this is to customise the information that's shared, that it's very much directed towards their interests and needs that they identify.
So there's something, Mary, that people might feel, well, that's not relevant to me or that's not about me. So even if it is, it's a case of however, maybe you have an insight, however one might come to have that feeling. It's about saying, well, no, actually, the law's there for all of us.
And that's exactly it, Greg. The law is there for everyone, and LGBT rights are human rights also. And it's to get the conversation going. It's to empower, the LGBT community to have their voice, to gain the knowledge, to realise that maybe some of this information is for them. It might be on issues they haven't thought about. It might be on things that they haven't come up about yet. And that's the beauty about having a group, is that they will inform each other, and we will be informed as well. So it's really a collaborative approach. And it's not a one-size-fits-all, and that's the beauty of how we've set it up, so that it is for everyone. And everyone is individual and has their own experience. Is this also going to have the effect of, because it can be a very difficult time in a rural part of this country at the best of times, but especially if you're going through your own journey, discovering who you are, you feel different. Well, part of this too maybe sort of eliminate if there is a sense of them and us in that, like that it's all us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd say the first phase of our programme is legal literacy. So it's going to be about the law generally and their access to it. Then we hope to look at things that are particularly, they feel are very pertinent to them, and we'll allow them drive that conversation. So there will be bespoke sessions then on those areas. But I suppose the key part of this, Greg, is the methodology we're going to use, which is called street law. It's not about us going in and telling them this is the law. It's about an interactive methodology where we work with them to effectively organically surface those issues that are most relevant to them in their day-to-day, and we'll address those then. We will customise the remaining workshops to address those. It's about empowering them but giving them that voice, and it's information.
A bit of ownership too of it, because it's
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, I mean it's actually quite an interesting project beyond the legal advice, isn't it? Because it gives people a voice and a platform and to create something that is tailored and relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be great for everybody.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it?
And you used the word there, advice. It's not even going to be that specific.
Okay.
It's very much information. And as Mary said, we're hoping to create a community so that then they can use each other. Effectively, their own knowledge will be broadened, and they'll know how to access the law and how to use those bits that are most relevant to them. They can do the fine tuning in terms of turning it into advice. Ours is to give them, to open the doors, to show them that the law as it is there for them, and there will be gaps in the law. And then that'll give them hopefully the skills, the citizenship to advocate more for what they recognise as their needs.
Okay, so the Legal Information Clinic. Tell us, Mary, who it's like how people engage with it, how it's being established, and all that type of stuff, and in its different stages.
Yeah, well, I suppose that today is the start of the recruitment process. So first of all, we need the participants. So I think we're appealing to anybody who identifies themselves as members of the community, or they have a family member or a friend, and they see that this is actually a good step for them. That they can contact the project coordinator, and I'll give out the details shortly. And then it'll be getting the group together, and like Rona says, then it'll be the rollout then of the clinics. There'll be a mixture of face-to-face, it'll be interactive, they'll be online, and it'll be driven by the group and whatever they want. So a lot of work has gone in, and there will also, alongside that, we will have a counsellor available from Donegal Women's Centre to meet with each of the participants, just to offer that extra support, because we are aware that there are other issues that could come up. There can be triggers within a group. Issues can come up and can be very personal, and they may, be still suffering from it. So we will be providing a counsellor to offer that support alongside with
I think they know they're engaging with an understanding process.
Absolutely.
Here.
We will be
not adding to anyone's situations. Now, I note it's for those 17 plus, but I'm just thinking maybe someone might be a parent or a guardian of a 14, 15, 16-year-old that might go, well, there's a few things that we wouldn't mind getting some clarity on in terms of the legal elements of things. Is this, it is prescriptive in that it is for 17 plus, is it?
Yeah, at the moment I think it's to keep the safety and the confidentiality of the group that we made a conscious decision just for now. This is the first of its kind that we're aware of, that we would make it specifically to those who identify with the community. And there's nothing to stop us from, developing this even further down the line. I suppose we're aware that, Donegal is quite a rural community, and chances are there are a lot of older members of the community who will never have had this opportunity to look at law, to come together as a group. And we are looking possibly to develop a group of older members of the community so that they have, peer support.
It is interesting because I have spoken to members of that community a few times, some on air and off air, and they do kind of feel left behind. That everything is about a next generation, yet they've, there's gaps there for them.
And that's really was one of the really driving forces of the project when we were putting it together, was to tap into the older members of the community, who may have all of their lives remained, their sexuality, their orientation has remained, completely confidential to themselves. And we want to give them the opportunity to link in with others and to empower them, just that they have a voice in their own community as well. And that was one of the reasons, because the issues pertaining to that age group will be very different to the issues, for the younger group. So we thought it was just important for now to keep them separate.
Yeah, more generally speaking, Brona, maybe it's not more generally speaking though, is the law equal to all of us though? You know what I mean? And I know that's a wider question and we don't really have time to get into it now, but obviously from time to time in different areas we would speak to people who the law doesn't seem equal to them.
Well, the bottom line is equality is the law, is the starting proposition. And you're quite right, though. Quite often it isn't equal. And I'd say access is probably one of the biggest barriers. And this is one of the primary purposes of this, is to take down one of those barriers. Yeah. And at least by giving information about the law, then they'll, number one, become more aware of it, but they will become advocates for those gaps, if there are gaps in the law.
And pardon my ignorance, when you talk about access, why would access be different for a member of the LGBTI plus community and a person who is not a member of that community, who doesn't identify it as? So, where is the access difficulty there?
Just if you take a very simple issue like family law as a general term, some of them may not recognise or appreciate that they come within the legal definition of a family.
Understood.
So it's just, as I say, it could be very simple. And to be fair, in terms of who it's available to, Mary's right, this is our first iteration, so we're addressing where the gap is, a very apparent gap is right now. We would hope in two ways to make this sustainable. We'll have graduates, if you want to call it, of this programme who will share it with others, and that will generate more information through peer mentoring. We also hope to develop some asynchronous digital resources which would be made available to the likes of parents of potential members of this community as well.
Yeah.
And I suppose, Greg, as well, just to make it really, really clear, there's no entry requirements. The prerequisite for this is only a desire to know. If people want to know more about the area, they're eligible. you know, because that's sadly one of the barriers as well, is that people think, well, that isn't quite for me. I know nothing about what my legal rights
what you're saying, and you don't want people to say, well, is it for me? Is it not for me? Their idea is that you'll engage, and then we'll see if you're asking that question, it probably is for you.
Absolutely, exactly.
If you're not sure whether it's for you, then it might well be for you.
Exactly.
And at the very least, engage and see if it is.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly.
It sounds to me quite exciting, Mary. Obviously, it's addressing a serious issue too, but it's kind of like you don't know where this could grow. I mean, if you plant an acorn, you've a strong suspicion an oak might grow. I think, isn't it? Yeah. You don't know what necessarily this might fully truly grow into, or how it might, which is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting and thrilling and terrifying all at the one time. And that's the beauty of it. You know, this is about starting the conversation. It is about giving people who may not have had a voice or an equal voice, giving them, you know, the voice going forward and seeing where it brings us, seeing where it goes. I'm really excited it's coming to Donegal and to the Northwest, and we've been given the opportunity, you know, to do this kind of work, and then to see where it goes from there. You know, we're not going to direct it. We don't really have a plan afterwards.
It makes these interviews very difficult, because I fully get it. But when you're calling for consultation or engagement, the last thing you want to do is say something that might deter someone from getting involved. So I do a few of these interviews over the year, and I get it, but it's just to try and get the point across, but to encourage people, but not discourage anyone.
Absolutely.
So that's
you
the
know,
tightrope
come
we're
along
walking.
and see if it's for you. And if it's not for you, that's okay. It might be for somebody else that you know. But it's a great opportunity, you know, so, and it won't be offered anywhere else in the country at the moment, so come along.
Right, so come along where though, and when? Because this information wasn't furnished to me.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, we're still finalising most of the details. I think,
Well, sorry, in terms of initially, all we want people to do is register their interest. Because we want to create a safe and confidential space, they register their interest simply by confirming that they're 18 plus, that they...
18 or 17, sorry.
Well, 17 plus, as in you have to be 18. So
I get you, I understand, sorry.
Yeah, so from 18 up, exactly.
Yes.
And if it's going to go up on social media from Wednesday on the Donegal Women's Centre, all of their various pages. But we also have an email address and a phone number if you want me to call those out.
Ahead, yeah.
Right, well, we have a project coordinator Rona, and she's contactable on 089 436 5143. Or you can email at lgbtproject@donegalwomencentre.ie, and all of those details will be confirmed. And effectively, Greg, what we will do then is circulate the information about the programme to those people.
Right. So register and go, you know, this is something like I'd be interested to find out more. Register your interest, then in a time in the future when things are, the ducks are more in a row at that point, well, not, you know what I mean, then it'll drop into their inbox.
Yeah, we will start in the beginning of April, so it's ready to go in the beginning of April.
Okay, right.
So it's and as I say, it'll be very much lightweight in the sense that you come with the desire to learn more about your own position and what, you know, entitlements you might have.
Okay, anything you want to add, Mary?
No, just we would really encourage people. We have set up so many safety protection pieces around it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interactive.
Positive experience.
Very experience. Positive. We will learn as much as what the participants will learn from this. We are open to that. We've kept it as non-directive as we possibly can because it's so new, because we really don't know where this is going to lead to. But we hope big things, and we're just really can't wait to get going. A lot of preparation's gone into it, and we're just really excited to get going. So we would just encourage everybody that might be interested. Look, you know, we're all going to be nervous. Come along. That's okay.
But we recognise you're the part of something. You're going to be a part of something.
Absolutely, and that's the probably the most exciting, is going to be part of something new. You know, a shift in the county, a shift within the communities involved. And hopefully that will maybe trigger
a template for the rest of the country.
Absolutely,
perhaps.
Absolutely.
Dr. Brown, anything you want to add?
No, I just would say that with information comes understanding. You know, so even if you're not sure, as you say, well, go out there and get the information, make your decisions then.
Yeah.
But I think information is really important, and legal information can be scarier than it actually is.
Yeah.
So use the opportunity.
And you find yourself Googling it. It does, you find yourself Googling, and you Google, and you'll get 4 answers, then you have to find out which one's relevant to you.
Which one's Australian, which one is wherever,
Exactly, yeah, all right. Listen.
Nothing wrong with Australia, though.
Except the laws apply to if you're in Australia. No, I get you, I don't think even the most sensitive Australians would be bothered by that statement, so don't worry about that. Dr. Brona Heverin, law lecturer at LYIT. Exciting times at LYIT as well, of course.
Great, absolutely. Next week, big deal.
It's all going. It's all go, isn't it? And Mary Maguire, manager at Donegal Women's Centre. Very funny. I don't want to do anything negative at all, of course, but it's a broad community, right? It's kind of interesting. It's the Donegal Women's Centre that is platforming this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did you consider that? Or?
Well, I think we've been working with the LGBT community for so long.
I'm not suggesting otherwise, by the way. But you're in a position of trust.
And we're in a position of trust, and I think we're well established within the community, and we have it, we work very much from an inter-agency and inter-community model of practice, and it's the next logical step, and we've been an ally for so many years that it was time to do something positive.
All right, I'm interested to see how this pans out. I think everyone is.
Yeah,
even those
we're really looking forward. Okay, we're looking forward to it ourselves.
Yeah, it's been. We will retain that info there, that specific mobile number and the email address as well, so people can ring us. They know our numbers off the top of their head, I think, and we'll be able to pass that on. But for now, thank you very much, Dr. Brona Heverin, law lecturer at LYIT, Mary Maguire, manager at Donegal Women's Centre. Thanks for joining us to talk about a new public legal information clinic which is opening at the Donegal Women's Centre. Contact us if you want that information, which is also available as well, of course, from the Donegal Women's Centre directly.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny. Explore our wide range of virtual tools at kellystoyota.com.
At Centra, we're at the heart of the community, so we go to great lengths to help you live your best life. Fresh bread, finest meals, fantastic offers, all the good feels. Not to mention a fabulous wide range of our own brand favourites. And as for off-licence, we've been to the 4 corners of the world so you can enjoy the best wines and beers locally. At Centra, we've got everything you need. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
There are so many ways to enjoy fresh Irish hake for everyday or weekend meals. Like mouth-watering baked hake with a herb dressing or delicious hake risotto with basil. Irish hake is high in protein and low in fat, so it's always a healthy, nutritious option. And it's landed fresh every day, so you're supporting local fishermen too. Ask for Irish hake at your local supermarket or fishmonger. And for great recipe ideas, visit boardbia.ie/fish.
Hello there, this is Daniel O'Donnell here, and I'm delighted to be able to tell you that we're coming back to the Millennium Forum in Derry for a couple of concerts. We're going to be there on Wednesday, August 31st and Thursday, September 1st. Both these shows are going to be taped for American television, so I hope you can join us. See you then. That's the Millennium Forum, August 31st and September 1st.
Let's call his name. Mike Denver in concert with guests Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, April 23rd. Tickets at the theatre box office. That's Mike Denver in concert at the Millennium Forum with Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine on Saturday, April 23rd.
Okay, you are very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We're into the last 20 minutes of the programme. I hope you're well. Hopefully you're able to enjoy the weather. Hopefully you had a fantastic weekend, by the way. And if you're a mother, hopefully you were spoiled absolutely rotten. Right, okay. Michael Leddy, writer and blogger. I simply just could not wait until Friday to talk to you about the Oscars. How are you keeping?
Hello, Greg. Yes, it's good to see you a few days earlier in the week. It's always good to see you. Yeah. The Oscars.
That's the pleasantries out the way. Right. Okay. Let's focus on the winners before maybe we talk about the distractions.
Absolutely.
It was a big event for streaming. It's now the industry can't pretend streaming does not create and platform films that can be Oscar winners anymore. That's done and dusted now.
Absolutely, yeah. It legitimizes, I think if that's the word, as if that was needed, it legitimizes the streaming option for filmmakers And it kind of, definitely it's another award, but the big award that puts that clearly on the board, clearly on the map. Yeah, if you're a streaming film such as Coda, you're legitimately an Oscar contender. And I was delighted to see Coda win. I loved it. I thought it was the best of the films I had seen. I had seen most of the Oscar contenders. I thought Power of the Dog would get it because it seemed more Oscar friendly, but no, the voters went for Coda, and deservedly so. And it's a NAPL movie, which is the point of the whole thing. And it also got a Best Supporting Actor award. Again, the fact that it isn't a traditional cinema film doesn't matter in the slightest.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the Oscar winners, but unfortunately I can't. Well, I will do, I can. But I can't because it's all about Will Smith.
It's all about Will Smith, yeah. So basically, do you want to chat about that now?
Yeah, go on, and then we'll go back to the...
We'll go back then, of course, yeah. So basically, Chris Rock was giving out, was introducing the best documentary Oscar.
There's never enough hours in documentary, I think.
I'm trying to bring more in. Thanks for getting me behind me on that. So he gave out a couple of jokes, as he does, and in fairness, they were pretty lame. Javier Bardem was one target, and then of course he goes to Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. She is very publicly dealing with alopecia at the moment, a hair loss condition, and she's been quite public about that. And he made a reference to the film G.I. Jane.
That's Demi Moore was in that, was it? I don't know if there's a new incarnation of it, but Demi Moore was in it. It was a big controversy at the time because Demi Moore shaved her head, so obviously the tabloids were all over that at the time.
Of course. So at the moment, through no fault of her own, Jada Pinkett Smith is sporting a very similar look. Chris Rock made a joke, and it got a pretty, negative response in the room because it's not a great joke.
It's not a joke.
Kind of, you're punching down, ironically punching, but you're punching down when somebody's dealing with some sort of illness. It's not usually good fodder for comedy. But in any case, he made the joke, and there was a bit of a groan. Will Smith initially seemed to chuckle. Jada Pinkett Smith, she definitely rolled her eyes. You can see that on camera. She was not impressed. Chris Rock was continuing, and at that point, Will Smith marched on the stage with great purpose and delivered a resounding slap across the face of Chris Rock. Unbelievable, like to watch it in replay. I've seen it a couple of times on social media.
Yeah.
And then he left the stage. There was a continuation of the altercation
get my wife's name out of your mouth.
Yes, using some language that's quite colourful. Will Smith made it clear he didn't want that kind of talk. Now, this is when we get to unpack it. But yeah, Chris Rock then continued. He was stunned for a couple of seconds, but very professionally, he kept going, which you got to admire, and he moved on as best as you could imagine.
See, I'm torn all over the place by this, because as I said earlier, I think commenting on people's appearance is, I think it's punching down, as you mentioned. I think it's
punching down big time.
I think for whatever reason, be it for medical reasons or for fashion choice, people with short hair now, girls maybe, will get the G.I. Jane schoolyard insult, but we're telling them not to. We're saying don't call people's name, and you've got this happening. If this is what it takes to stop that kind of crappy roasting or whatever you might call it, but I in no way can condone what Will Smith did.
Yes.
So it's a moral dilemma. I don't know what way to come down on it.
Yeah. It is. There's a lot to unpack because there are so many hot takes this morning all over social media, and there's a couple of articles out there already, lengthy articles on sites like The Guardian, and it is difficult because, first of all, you're absolutely correct. It's a terrible joke, and it's not a target that's appropriate. It never is. So comedians picking on somebody for these reasons, it's nothing to stand up or be proud about. But Will Smith's response. Is it a response wherein he's defending his wife, or is it a response where he's just defending his own bruised ego? Because you got to unpack differently. Because they have been the butt. They were butt of jokes as well.
Yeah, but we talked earlier on. We talked. I think you might have mentioned it on Friday or some Friday. They'll blur into one. You mentioned about how the fact that this is not about whether Spider-Man was the best film of the year, whether Batman was the best film of the year, or audience favourites. Do you know what I mean? It's a load of people with the nose in the air sort of going, and that's fine, right? But it does platform films that might not ordinarily get a big audience, that they might go, right, you got mentioned at the Oscars, or you got selected, or you won, and it drives a bit of traffic to them.
Absolutely.
He's done them a terrible disservice, because it's a short window. It's one evening and maybe the next day of coverage of these films, right? But he's swallowed up all of that coverage. So in doing what he did, yes, he made a stand, but an awful lot of independent companies, smaller actors, they're going to miss out on their time in the spotlight, the short time in the spotlight.
The documentary, the actual winner of the actual documentary, then, that gets completely swallowed up. Like, this happened within a couple of minutes of the slap. And again, it's doing a disservice. It's unprofessional. And his speech, which I've watched in its entirety, is rambling. It's sort of a justification of his actions, and it's very much a self-important, it's very grandiose speech in talking about the pressure that he's under and what he's being called upon by God.
So he's a victim then, yeah. So
yes, exactly, okay. And that would certainly. And I'm reminded
that doesn't help either.
I'm reminded by Twitter of Ricky Gervais a couple of years ago, and he has a lovely piece when he was doing the Oscars about, and it's again, I'll paraphrase because of whatever content language, but it's just, you're an actor. Get up, say thanks, thank your agent, get off the stage. Nobody is expecting anything more of you.
Well, some people might use that opportunity to support an issue or something, and I get that, but I understand where everyone's coming from on this. A caller says, and I've heard it a few times, this was a setup between Smith and Rock. This is Hollywood. Now, I know people always try and think, a lot of people might always, there's no gain for Will Smith in this. There is no gain for Chris Rock in this, and there might be a gain for the Oscars, maybe because maybe they're more relevant and people aren't talking about things like diversity or whatever it might be, or other important issues. But there is nothing for anyone positive in this either, I don't think.
I don't think so either. I think it's a PR nightmare, I think, for Will Smith at the moment. I don't think it's going to do long-term damage, but nonetheless, to his career, but nonetheless, it is a bit of a PR nightmare. I can't see the benefit. You're absolutely right. You're coming at it analytically. I completely agree. I can't see why they would concoct this or think for a moment it would be a positive thing. It's not. And it's not a good image for a leading black actor in modern America to resort to violence to resolve things. If this was concocted, then there's a lot of people really should be rethinking their positions if they're telling Will Smith to do this, because it's not a good look.
A few people pointing out that Smith originally laughed and then had this violent outburst. But listen, we can't speak to the space he was in. It could be a laugh of embarrassment. Maybe you didn't hear. I don't know.
I agree with you on that.
I wouldn't read too much into that either, personally. But I appreciate the text very much, by the way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I saw that. You can't know in the moment. It's split second. There's that moment where you like, you've been there, Greg. I've been there. Something goes on, and you're like 1, 2, 3. You're like, what? Wait, what? What did I just hear? So being polite, you can smile, particularly with a comedian. Rock wasn't being particularly funny. His previous couple of gags were not great. None of his gags in that.
I cringe, and I watched some of Saturday Night Live, and the American humour, that is a sweeping statement. Don't get me wrong, and I think people know I don't mean all. It's just a lot of it's tone deaf, and not funny. Well done to Smith. He didn't hit him hard enough. That's one point of view. And you know what? In terms of, as I say, Marley, I could never condone that type of stuff, either off air and on air, or on air, by the way. I'm not trying to be cute here, but I can't tolerate that type of bullying, picking on people for their appearance. Another caller says, it sounds staged by Chris Rock and Will Smith to get publicity for their waning Oscars. They're both action men. This is staged for sure. Again, I get it. And listen, you could be 100% right, because you can hear by some of the jokes that these actors try and come up with to give an award, and it's cringe. It's like you think, oh my God, that's bad. So maybe they contrived it and didn't. Like, why did he slap him with an open hand, for example? Yes. Like, I'm not dishing that, but if they did that theory, but if they did do this, my word, they need, as you say, wasn't it? They need new advisors.
Bad judgment, yeah. It just seems like it's not having the intended effect. I mean, unless you go back to Oscar Wilde's famous quote about, publicity is publicity, is also bad publicity if they're talking about you. So I don't know, but I mean, winning the Oscar for Best Actor, pretty much, not that I'm sure.
Solid that though. Right, let's run through
a great performance.
Best Picture, Coda. You think that deserved to be in ahead of Belfast? I know you didn't like Belfast, but
yeah, I see Belfast did pick up for screenplay.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get on them in order.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I'll never keep track
Coda,
otherwise.
Very happy.
West Side Story, Ariana DeBose, actress in a supporting role. International film feature, Drive My Car. Documentary, The Queen of Basketball. Documentary feature, Summer of Soul. Animated film feature, Encanto. Adapted screenplay, Coda again. Original screenplay, Belfast, which you referenced. Don't Look Up was in there too. I didn't see Belfast. I'd like to have seen, because there was a bit on the Late Late Show recently where I think it was Mary Robinson was talking about the crisis that we are in at the moment. And Ryan totally brushed over him and went, oh, yeah, that's okay. But now we're going on to this. And it was literally, right, you could have inserted that into Don't Look Up. It's exactly what that film was talking about. She was talking about apocalyptic scenario for our children. And it was, yes, we get that. On to our next item. Let's, you can win this. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, Will Smith, as you mentioned, King Richard, he's a winner there. Actress.
And it was a good performance. It's overshadowed now, but that's a good film and a good performance.
I look forward to seeing that. Jessica Chastain, Eyes of Tammy Faye, actress in Leaning Road. Director, Power of the Dog, Jane Campion. Production design, Dune. I think Fanula liked Dune. They also won cinematography. Then we're getting into costume design, Cruella, and down it goes. Live action short film. So I thought there was an audience vote, no? Was there not some sort of an audience favourite or something that was supposed to be introduced this year?
If there was, it escaped my attention.
No,
Right. You could be 100% right. It's not on my list here. I have a list here too. I didn't notice it this morning. So
another caller says any publicity is good publicity. Another, you can tell the way Rock moved when the timing was there. Okay, well listen, maybe there's a bigger picture here. I don't know. As I say, I'm not dismissing it as a theory. It just seems so illogical. But we are dealing with Hollywood celebrities.
Yeah, I'm not convinced though. I just it seems I haven't watched it now. It seems too real and just too stupid at the moment. So
Janet Jackson's boob falling out during the Super Bowl.
Yes,
that is a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
All right, listen, see you Friday. Thanks very much for joining us today. And we'll chew through it a bit more. Lovely stuff. Michael Leddy there. It is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We are about to take a quick break and then we'll be back to say goodbye. Don't go away anywhere, though.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny, with offers on a wide range of passenger and commercial vehicles.
For a huge selection of furniture, all at one showroom, pull into Grow Furnishings in Letterkenny. Sofas, beds, wardrobes, tables and chairs. Also a range of carpet, vinyl, rugs and laminated flooring. If it's time for a change, it's time for a visit to Grow Furnishings. Grove deliver throughout Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. Be inspired at Grow Furnishings, Kiltoy Road, Letterkenny.
With the brighter days, it's only natural to think about freshening up the paintwork in our homes, bringing colour and vibrancy to our living spaces. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleet Wood use the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and smoother finish that lets you wipe away the marks of everyday life. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleet Wood would, naturally.
Bluebird Care are looking for you. Bluebird Care are currently seeking carers and nurses to join their ever-expanding team. Immediate starts for carers in all parts of the county, especially Letterkenny, Inishowen and Donegal Town. Bluebird Care are also looking for registered general nurses for day and nighttime 12-hour shifts. Contact Bluebird Care on 07491 9562 or visit bluebirdcare.ie and bring care home.
Pet Value Ballybuffet has just got bigger. Yes, we've opened store number 2 at St Mary's Road, Buncrana. And to celebrate, one lucky customer will win €1,000 of home heating oil. Simply call into the store during March and you will be entered into the draw. Pet Value are open Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m, Sunday 12 till 5. With fantastic offers across both stores. Pet Value, your one-stop shop for all your animal needs.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday with the family? You can now fly to Barcelona 3 times weekly this summer with Ryanair and enjoy some of Europe's best family campsites. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, let's have a look at the weather forecast. It's actually not going to be a bad day today, you know. It's going to continue for a little while, but I'll bring you something more specific now. Mist and fog is clearing at this stage. A dry morning, which is over. During the afternoon and evening, though, it'll stay with hazy sunshine. A few showers will break out. Temperatures 13 to 16 degrees. Tonight, any lingering showers will die out early in the night, becoming dry with clear spells. Temperatures 1 to 5 degrees, okay? And tomorrow, mist and fog will again clear away during the morning, but patches may linger. Good sunshine will develop for most, but there'll be some scattered showers as well. Temperatures dropping a little bit, 11 to 14 degrees. But you know what? This is like a bonus little summer. It's still not April yet. It's still the end of March. Very impressed with Cormac and his empathy and compassion, and what a brilliant song. Should be the anthem for the climb. That comes in from Monica, which I thought was... we got a lot of nice comments in as it relates to Cormac. Greg, such a lovely song. It's like some of Leonard Cohen's songs. You can hear every word. And another so beautiful. Well done, such beautiful lyrics. Well done to Cormac and Kelly as well for supporting him. Caroline Orr produced the show. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 9. Stay tuned. John Breslin's coming up around the Northwest. Have a great day.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by Kelly's